Then I saw the Congo creeping through the black, cutting through the forest with the golden track. Then I saw the Congo creeping through the black, cutting through the forest with the golden track. Then I saw the Congo creeping through the black, cutting through the forest with the golden track.
Yeah.
Oh,
I wish I had that that little
yeah,
that rubber band.
That thing is
instrument. Welcome to The Cover, where three Hoosier friends judge books by their covers and movies by their trailers.
That's right. I'm Brett, here with my fellow Indiana natives, Remington and Marcus, ready to dive into the stories that keep us up all night and occasionally put us to sleep.
Whether you're a bookworm, movie buff, or just here for the witty banter, we've got you covered.
Each week, we'll dissect a different book or movie, sharing fun facts, hot takes, and moments that make Marcus cry. Spoiler alert, we're not experts, but we're definitely opinionated.
From literary masterpieces to blockbuster flops, nothing is safe from our snarky reviews and wild tangents. Who knew Hoosiers could be this entertaining?
So grab your popcorn and reading glasses because we're about to embark on a hilarious journey through the pages and screens that shape our lives. Or at least our weekends.
You're listening to The Cover. Let's get the show on the road before one of our kids wakes up.
That is really good.
Is that a Disney?
It's Disney.
I don't know, but I was watching White Fang with the kids, and they had one of those in that movie too.
Damn it, Neil! The name's Nuwanda.
By the way, White Fang with Ethan Hawke.
Dude, Ethan Hawke's a baby in this thing.
He's a baby.
So here's my
He
issue.
was a baby in White Fang too.
I'm like, oh, Riley, Ethan Hawke's in this? She's like, Ethan Hawke? What movies are he in? I could not think of one movie the dude is in. And he's in, I've probably seen 10 of his movies. I could not think of one
Training
movie.
Day.
Maybe that's the sign Maybe that's the sign of a good actor.
Good supporting actor.
No, it's not a sign of a good actor. Any other...
If you don't know his movies, but you know that he's been in movies,
it's kind of like,
good.
That's not a good...
That's because you're attached to his character.
No, Marcus, it's not a sign of a great actor. It's a sign of like a popular... like I would
B-lister. That's the definition of a B-lister.
I would compare it to Train. Train is not a great all-time band, but there are like
12... they got some bangers.
There are 12 Train songs that you're like, I know that Train sings this song? That's Ethan Hawke.
Yeah.
Jessica and I were just talking the other day about how Train needs to come out with another song.
Oh, dude, I went to Train and Maroon 5, and Maroon 5 opened for Train.
That sounds right.
They opened for John Mayer, and that was one of the best concerts
They
I've ever
opened
been
for
to.
Mayer?
Maroon 5.
Maroon 5. Yeah, this would have been 2012 for me.
Yeah.
Yeah, Train and Maroon 5 have a similar vibe.
Oh, man, it's great.
Yeah.
But I was just saying it was crazy that Maroon 5 opened for Train at the time, which...
Panic at the Disco opened for Weezer, and as a Weezer fan, I was happy about that, but everybody left after Panic at the Disco.
So Weezer
and I was like,
at the end
officially, Weezer has lost their... Now, they still have their hardcore fans.
Yeah.
And the best concert of Weezer's...
I like Weezer. They're really good in that Disney movie.
The best concert I've ever been to of Weezer's, and I've been to a lot of them, was in a casino because it was 21 and over. And so it was the legit, I know every word to every song, Weezer fans. And the opening band couldn't open because the lead singer was under 21 and couldn't get into the venue.
And didn't put two and two together until then?
They wouldn't let him in.
You should have just been like, I know the songs. And then just totally mess
No, it's not the lead singer of Weezer, the opening band.
No, but I'm saying you should have been like, I know, I'm here for you guys.
I got it, yeah. This is my moment. This is my moment. Play it in G.
I've been waiting for this.
But yeah, Training Day is Ethan Hawke. He's in a lot of like action movies, in a couple of like dramas. But you're right, like he doesn't really stand out in any of the movies. Like
it's probably a super nice life, honestly.
The Magnificent Seven.
I liked him in The Magnificent Seven.
He was in a
fairly
thriller
recent
with
film.
Angelina, wasn't he?
Magnificent Seven's with Denzel, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's on my list. That's
Training
on my list.
Day.
Well, Training Day's also with Denzel.
Yeah.
But Magnificent Seven is...
Yeah, Denzel, Chris Pratt.
I feel like Ethan Hawke is kind of an actor's actor.
Ooh.
One Chris Pratt movie to review.
I mean, I'm definitely going one Chris Pratt movie to review. I'm going with Guardians. I mean, it's It's so
Yeah,
good.
he's good.
Love.
He's good in all the Marvels.
He's so
good.
funny in those Guardians movies.
It's crazy to see old clips of him from. Is it Community? What was he in?
No, he was in
Parks and Rec.
Parks and Rec. Before he like bulks
What's
up.
interesting is like he talks about that, not bulked up, lost weight and then bulked up. Like he was super overweight, and I talk about this all the time. Actually, he's literally his quote is, "I used to eat for pleasure, and the rest of my life I'd felt like crap. Now it's the opposite. I have a very boring diet, but the rest of my life I feel awesome."
Dude, so
And
true.
there's that is profound. By the way, we've got this rolling in the background as usual. Dead Poet Society.
I think this is the day before classes start, or this is the first day of classes.
Yeah, it's interesting because I remember thinking that for whatever reason I thought it was a college, but there's like a couple movies that I confused that are similar.
probably because of when you watched it first.
This is definitely
True, yeah, because they're older. But then you look at the first day, and this is an all boys school,
Yep.
K through 12.
This is.
Yeah.
Would you say this is a
Boarding school.
This is like a Northeast college prep school.
Totally.
Well,
100%.
it was filmed in Delaware.
Yeah.
Got it.
Yeah.
It is meant to be, Northeast college prep school.
I know I'm gonna place myself in a box. That's the whole podcast, but there is a show Riley and I watched every single time she was pregnant, and it's Gilmore Girls. And
Oh, boy.
they go to.
You watch that every time.
It's a lot of. We watched a lot of times.
There's not a lot of shows that like if I really don't like it, I'm willing to sit down and actually watch with my wife.
Dude, I love. I will,
I'm just not willing to do it.
If we're ever like, do you guys have any of those shows that you'll go back? Like, maybe The Office is one of these where it's like, we can't decide what to watch. Let's just watch an episode of whatever.
Yeah, Friends.
Gilmore Girls is like, I will choose to. You
like it?
I like it. I like
Oh
it.
my
Do you like
goodness.
Parenthood?
Yeah, loved Parenthood.
I like Parenthood a lot.
Yeah.
Parenthood and This Is Us, I think, are like all-time great family
Yeah.
shows.
But Chilton is the name of the prep school that the Rory goes to, and it reminded me of. This is Welton.
Yeah.
Welcome to the Cover Podcast. I'm one of your hosts,
Hey, thanks.
Brett Wiggins.
Hey, bro.
And as always, to my left is
Marcus Mangus,
pneumonia free.
back from the dead.
That's right. Sitting to my right is Sir.
Remington Ramsey.
What are we covering, Rem?
Well, if you don't know, see if you can get it from this description. Maverick teacher John Keating returns in 1959 to the prestigious New England boys' boarding school where he was once a star student, using poetry to embolden his pupils to new heights of self-expression. Dead Poet Society. Oh, Captain, my Captain.
Actually, a really solid. I think that summary was concise.
Definitely doesn't give away the ending.
Doesn't give away the ending. It was good. Any credit for that? Or
No, that's the one that IMDb chose.
Here's my back of the cover.
oh yeah, here.
I went to the woods because I wished to live deliberately, to front only the essential facts of life, and see if I could not learn what it had to teach, and not, when I came to die, discover that I had not lived. That's how they open each meeting of the Dead Poets Society.
And that
Because
was
that's
I
how
believe-
Keating
That's,
opened.
that's out of Walden Pond, correct?
That's Thoreau.
Thoreau.
Yep, Walden.
So we make fun of my education.
But you've
a
actually
lot.
read this.
Dude, had an amazing AP English teacher freshman and senior year. He
Liberal
was not an
arts.
intergalactic
Liberally educated.
but he was a Wabash educated. I believe he was a GDI because he was a swimmer,
Yeah.
athlete, so kind of normal. And
Not to be confused with the GI
I mean,
Joe.
not that normal. GDI means something independent.
a gosh darn independent.
There you go.
Hmm.
Mr. Homo, Adam Homo.
Wow. Okay.
Yeah. But we read a lot of class, like we read Emerson, Thoreau.
Yeah,
We
I
did a
think
lot
I
of
read
stuff
this
like
first when I was in high school as well.
What's the book? It's just a book of
Walden.
poems?
Walden. No, it's Thoreau. It's like Walden's most preeminent work.
Cool.
You haven't read this, where
I
he
have
just
not.
goes, into the woods and writes an
Yeah,
entire
he goes
book.
remote for I think
No, I don't really
does
read
he
Like
go
a
for
year.
an entire year.
I think
right?
he goes for a year.
That's cool. I have not read it.
Yeah. Rem, what'd you know?
I don't feel like I was very well read in high school. I
Because you didn't want to, or because it wasn't assigned?
I read a lot as a kid, and I really enjoyed fiction.
Yeah.
And then when I got into high school, I think a lot of it was I didn't really enjoy the teachers that were teaching me this kind of stuff. And so I lost a lot. It's crazy how that impacts you, because I love reading now, and I did before it.
Yeah.
So
I don't know. I definitely summarized, and I crushed Cliff Notes. I don't know if you guys use Cliff Notes in school, but
Nope.
Spark Notes, same situation.
That came around when we were in middle school.
So he would do my AP English teacher in high school. We would do Socratic seminar for all books. We did the Odyssey. That was the only time I can remember enjoying reading.
That must have been
deep.
freshman year, right?
Yes, freshman was
Odyssey?
Odyssey. Yeah.
Yeah.
And then I want to say we
Isn't
also
it crazy how
Mice and
early
Men?
they start reading the Odyssey in at Coram Deo?
So what year are we talking? This is the first year of Logic. They start doing that, or what's?
No, they do an abbreviated version of the Odyssey, but it's the real stuff. In third grade.
Oh wow. Yeah.
Guys, this
And then
scene
they
right
do it
here, sorry
again
to
in
interrupt, but
seventh.
this scene right here is epic. Where they're
Oh, I
looking at
love
it.
this scene.
So to set the setting of this scene, there's probably 3 scenes in this movie that go down in like the core memory of the movie.
Yep.
Right, obviously the ending. This one for me, where he's setting the stage, he takes his students out of the classroom.
Yep.
So that's different immediately from all the other stuff.
Yeah,
he
they don't even
teaches.
know what to do.
They don't know what's happening. They
No
don't-
idea.
Are we allowed to do this? Even though the teachers.
Yeah.
So then they go, and he's basically telling, "Hey, look at the pictures of the people who've gone before you, and realize that they stood in these halls,
Yeah.
and had the
Felt
same
And
messages."
now they're pushing up daisies.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So do what you can with the time that you have. I did this at all of that. Yeah, carpe diem. Wait, what did that make me think of? Carpe. Oh, it makes me think of Voldemort.
Yeah, I was gonna say definitely makes me think of Harry Potter.
Yeah, it's definitely Harry Potter.
5 hours.
So I did this at all of it. I walked the halls and I looked at pictures and I thought,
Yeah.
aside from just looking at the funny haircuts and the different,
Mhm.
I thought about the people, and I was like, the records, the people they were when they walked the halls, the fact that some of them have their names on dorms or
Yeah.
names on business school. Like, what am I gonna do?
Well, how does all of it have any old buildings?
Oh yeah, it's an ancient school. Like,
There's some buildings at Wabash that have been around since the 1800s.
Yeah.
And you're walking on these same steps that are just completely worn down from students from generations and generations. And there's actually like a weight and a responsibility that you feel
Oh yeah,
when you're walking through those halls. Is
for
like,
sure.
I need to give it my all. Like, I need to be successful.
Yeah.
Just to keep the legacy going.
Not only that, but like the people who don't have the same opportunities that we have. We talked about this on another show. Like, immigrants talk all the time that Americans don't take advantage of the opportunities that we have. And it's the same thing with like school. Like, if you're blessed enough to go to school, which most aren't, and you walk those halls and anyone else is paying for it, or you have a bad attitude or anything, what a waste. What a waste of 4 years.
Totally.
What a waste of young life. So yeah, I didn't want to be that. I didn't want to just walk the halls and get a piece of paper that said I'm good at school. Because to be honest, I wasn't. Figured out the system and then graduated and realized I learned more from the business hard knock school of knives than I did at school in terms of entrepreneurship and that. But I think there's a lot of. I mean, I'm kind of going off on a tangent, but we just read this book. College is a Scam by Charlie Kirk, which put my father, professor, into a tizzy.
He recommended the book. It was his choice.
Yeah. But I don't think it was because he agreed with it. He probably wanted to see what we thought.
Good
about
for
it.
him.
Yeah. Anyway, but this, Marcus, I think this movie definitely resonated with you, being an all boys school.
There's just a ton.
A lot of parallelisms.
There's so much that resonates with me, just because now it was my college experience, not my high school experience.
Right.
But these kids are at least sophomores or juniors.
Yeah.
The main
17, 18.
characters are about to graduate.
Yeah, I think he says at one point that it's 10 more years, which college and then med school, which makes me think he's in that like sophomore to junior range.
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah,
a lot of it felt very much like my collegiate experience. And I've seen this movie before. I don't know how long it's been since I've seen it, but I've definitely seen it many times. Jessica knows it's one of my favorites, and so she said, "Oh, you guys have got to do Dead Poets Society." I'm really curious to see your take on this.
I loved Robin Williams. I mean, we talked about previous episode Gene Wilder's entrance into Willy Wonka. I know it wasn't his first time on screen, but his entrance into the classroom, like
it
you brought
actually
up,
was.
Oh,
So that's the difference about this movie. He shot it in order. He wanted this movie, the kids to...
Who's he? The director?
Yeah, the director.
Yeah, okay. I thought you were talking about Robin Williams.
No, Robin Williams was simply an actor. So fun fact, who was the only actor I know that was queued up as someone else was Robin Williams' character. Who do you think it was? It's someone in action movies.
Oh, someone.
Everyone
they
gets
had
instead of Robin
else
Williams to play Robert Keating
in 1989.
Yeah, you both get one guess.
Michael Keaton.
That's a good guess. No
action movies.
Action movies. Peter Weir, by the way, is the director.
Oh, okay.
Also known
Arnold
for
Schwarzenegger.
Also known for Master and Commander. Arnold Schwarzenegger. No, Liam Neeson.
Oh, wow.
In fact, it was his. The role was his until Peter Weir got the director gig, and he said, "I'm getting Robin Williams."
Robin Williams does this thing where
any movie he's in is a Robin Williams movie.
Good or bad, like you can't see anybody else doing that role.
Oh yeah, for sure.
I mean, you just can't because he brings so much Robin Williams to it.
We watched Hawke like last week.
Like
the
impressions and everything. Hawke would be an interesting one for us to do, by the way, because it was like a flop. Like
in the box office?
Yeah, total flop from
That's
a
funny.
box office
There's so many movies that didn't do well that I loved as a kid.
But we loved it because I think just the generation that we were.
So Peter, you might have missed it, but Peter Weir is also known for Master and Commander.
Oh, nice.
Which is when we
we
did Gladiator, we talked about the notes on Russell Crowe and how a lot of people there's a lot of country. I listened to the rewatchables talk about Russell Crowe, and Master and Commander got the least amount of press, attention, dollars, everything, and a lot of those guys think it's his best work.
Oh wow,
it's really good.
I don't even think I've seen it.
It's really good Russell Crowe movie.
Yeah, I don't even think I've seen that one.
When I said Robin
and it
Williams,
was the height, like he had just won all those other
everything
Oscars.
Else.
And so
A Beautiful Mind, Gladiator, Master
Commander. At that point I was watching anything Russell Crowe basically that I could.
When I said Robin Williams' entrance to the classroom was so unique, and I said, but it wasn't his first time on screen.
Yeah.
You said something about, but it was.
It was.
Because his first time on screen was at the opening ceremony.
That's true.
They recognized him as a new teacher.
If they did it in order.
I got you.
But you're saying it might have been his first time seeing
his
the
first
students?
time,
having lines.
Basically, this was shot in order. Like they didn't go out of order sequence.
Got it.
That really probably makes it easier for the kid.
They wanted it for the kids.
Yeah.
And so that was actually one of my notes. I wrote down. There's a scene about halfway through the movie where they're just sitting there. It's like where he already has rapport with the kids, and they're just laughing. I wrote, you know what's probably happening? Those kids really were just sitting there laughing at Robin
And
Williams.
with him, if they're aspiring actors, they're at an old enough age where they're probably thinking about it seriously.
Oh,
he's
these
at the
guys
top. He's at the top of his game. They're like, this is.
Oh, for sure.
This is awesome.
They're like, this guy.
I mean, one of these guys becomes a doctor, Wilson. So
he's the most interesting person to me. Like him as a person, his name. You're talking about Robert Sean Leonard.
Him as a person, I wouldn't have known his name. I just know him as
not in anything
Wilson
anymore.
from House.
He's known as House, and when I always think about this, whenever
which kid is House?
The main character,
Neil?
No, he's not.
No, he's not House.
He's
the
House's
doctor.
best friend.
What?
He's House's best friend. He's in every season.
He's
probably every episode.
All of these guys look so familiar, but I couldn't tell you what.
Well, dude, did you guys think that Charlie and Knox looked the exact same? It took me like half the movie to figure out which one was which.
Twice I messed up and was thinking that one did something. Yeah.
They're similar.
Okay, so what Robert Sean Leonard, anytime an actor is known for TV acting and I see them in a movie, my first thought is what went wrong? Because you don't typically go that direction. Nowadays it's totally okay different because of HBO and streaming
Apple
and
Netflix.
With Welcome to Wrexham, the reason that what's his name, Robert McElhenney, was like, I got TV money.
Yeah,
I don't have movie money. And that's why he included Reynolds.
movie money and movie stardom.
Yeah.
So you're exactly right.
Yeah.
But
I think it is the gap is different than it used to be because of streaming.
Well, people are
Netflix paying
now that's
big
people
not
are
money.
necessarily-
jumping back and forth more because I think that you can creatively explore a lot. You can go a lot deeper with
Series,
eight
miniseries.
episodes of a
For sure.
series
Yeah.
or something.
For sure. Think about like Westworld, Game of Thrones, some of these like epic.
My favorite are these. My favorite are the mini
I
mini
really like
series.
miniseries,
So
yeah.
you
You're talking
get
like the
you
full
get
finality.
8 episodes,
to tell the whole story.
and it is boom. Those are awesome.
Yeah.
So it's just crazy. Like I do this all the time. So when I did a deep dive on him, like literally when you read the bio on IMDb, this is the first paragraph that pops up for Robert Sean Leonard. One actor who has deserved much acknowledgement and fame and has had to do so without it on a number of occasions is Robert Sean Leonard. Most known for being Dr. James Wilson on House, but his career has spanned a number of classic films alongside greats as Daniel Day-Lewis, Christian Bale, Paul Newman, and Denzel Washington. So then I asked myself why, because you look up his projects and he crushed it. He crushed it in this movie.
He crushed
Like I was looking at, it, I was
agree.
like, I don't know, maybe he's just not as good. Like I thought Ethan Hawke was kind of not as good at times. There's certain actors. So we started. Did I tell you we started Lost?
Oh, did
So
you?
good.
So that kid who's like the kid, don't tell me anything, but there's one actor that's clearly not as good as all the other
You've never watched
actors.
it?
I've never. I think I tried and then I just
Oh
stopped.
man,
Yeah.
I'm so
I
jealous.
don't like not realistic. So like let me explain this. Like I like Walking Dead.
Yeah. Oh,
And
me
that's-
too. I think
to
Walking
me it's
Dead's
realistic.
phenomenal.
To me it's realistic. But like Lost is like that USA, like, you know, kind of goofy writing where it's very predictable at times.
I wouldn't say Lost.
I don't.
is
Yeah, I
predictable.
wouldn't. But I also haven't watched it in a really long time. Now I mean that's back in the day when I was fresh out of college. Now I'm about to go to con. My perspective has changed a lot.
Brett, I'm gonna take
So-
you places.
I'm excited.
I'm gonna take you places. I'm gonna
That's
get
why
you.
I'm here.
I'm gonna get you nice hats, and I'm gonna take you places.
Hey, you already got us nice hats, so
Those
now we
hats
gotta
look great.
now we gotta go places.
We're all sporting our cover hats.
Oh man,
If you'd like to,
you're gonna see these on the gram.
if you'd like to hop on Patreon to pay me back for these hats,
Holy cow!
Yeah, you don't actually get a hat, but you would help us
But
pay
you
for
have
the
to
hats.
pay for our hats.
Yeah.
Yeah, I wrote down my note. Oh my gosh, that's Ethan Hawke. That's
Wait,
my,
you've seen this movie though.
I have seen it, but it's
When
been
did
so
you
long.
fir-
I'm not thinking about Ethan Hawke.
You haven't seen this in a long time though.
I saw it I saw it when I was
You
a
saw
kid.
it as a kid
Yeah,
for the first
I
time?
remembered what happened.
Okay.
No, I remember like the
Yeah.
big defining things.
Yeah.
How old were you when you watched this?
17, 18.
Okay, with like this was a Brian and Tammy special, or this
No,
was
no. By the time I hit like 17, 18, no longer.
Got it.
They didn't like certain.
This
Dad-
is probably like a $5 movie.
I've explained this before.
This is probably a $5 movie.
Maybe. I've explained this before. Dad can handle certain elements of movies that mom cannot. Mostly the cursing really gets to mom.
Mm-hmm.
And so this is how it
Is there a
happens.
lot of cursing in this?
No.
Oh,
No, but he's just
enough
asking
for
like
Tammy.
he's just asking, did we sit down and watch these types of movies, like movies
Yeah.
that we cover? Some of the movies we cover are like fine, and
Yeah.
at the time when we watch them on TV, it kind of cut out some
Right.
of the stuff. But cursing, my mom cannot handle. So like it goes like this: first curse
Yeah,
word.
you've said this.
She looks over at him. She looks over at him, and we all feel it. We're like, Mom, don't do it. Then second curse word in the movie. She looks over at him and says, Brian. And then by the third curse word, she gets up and puts a guilt trip on everyone who decides to stay and watch the movie.
This isn't crazy different than Kathy Mangus.
Yeah.
It's pretty close.
I'm sure.
It's pretty close.
So by the time I hit like 16, 17, I'd watch like war movies because Dad was like, for whatever reason, violence
by
was fine.
16 or 17, yeah. I mean,
When did you watch it, Marcus? First time?
He watched
I
a
don't
lot of
know.
movies in college, he said.
I think I probably watched this in college.
Do you remember?
I
what
did a
you-
lot of catching up in college.
Do you remember what you knew? You guys knew about it before you would, or why you watched it? Why it came up?
Just that it was a
Anything there?
classic.
I just watched it because it was good. Yeah, it was a
Got it.
classic movie.
I knew Robin Williams is a teacher. That was all I knew.
Mm.
That's all I knew.
Going into this was your first time watching?
Yes, first time watching it.
How did you know he was a teacher just for
Man,
the
we
the
should
cover?
we should
Seeing-
just call this the first time Brett watches movies.
We could.
For the record is what we're calling it.
For the record, this is the first time. Gosh, that hat looks good.
You know what I'm excited for?
It's really
Does,
good
does
hat.
my hat look as good as your guys' hats look?
Your hat does look very good.
Yeah.
I didn't realize
Oh,
it's like a gray. I thought
man.
it was a green. It's like a
I
gray.
got
Is
I
it a
got
gray?
one of each for myself.
Did
yeah,
you really?
Yeah, I walked in. I was like, "Oh, Brad, you already picked that one." He's like, "I have all three."
This is nice.
Marcus
Wear
hasn't
all
started.
the time.
Marcus hasn't started counting on his fingers yet. So
Oh, I already did that.
Oh, nice.
But it was like 20
Oh, yeah.
minutes
When
ago.
you said to my left, I was gonna give him a nickname, but you spoke too soon.
Oh, okay.
Counting on my fingers, Mangus.
Counting on my fingers, Mangus.
So this movie was set in the 50s.
Hashtag liberal arts education.
If you guys were born in a different era, what would it be?
Oh,
For me, I always thought it was like
this was set in what?
50s.
Is it really?
Yeah,
Okay.
50s. Letterman sweaters.
Yeah, I saw the
rounded
the
cars.
Yeah.
Dude,
Bagpipes.
I don't know. This is what came to my head right away. 90s business guy in Chicago during the Bulls.
Oh,
run.
so cocaine.
No.
Cocaine.
during
Loves
You said
cocaine.
3 things that were cocaine.
90s business
Bulls,
guy
Bulls
in
in
Chicago
the 90s.
during the Bulls run.
Yeah, that's cocaine.
You're saying they're all
Have you
doing-
watched The Last Dance?
Yes.
Okay.
Obviously.
Have you seen
Who hasn't watched The Last Dance?
Wall Street?
No, I haven't.
I guess Wall Street is actually technically 80s.
Probably.
It's technically 80s.
Yeah.
You
I
haven't
just-
seen Wall Street?
I've never seen Wall Street.
Dude,
Definitely
Brett
have
hasn't
to
watched any good movies.
I don't know why I continue to do that.
It's fun to watch you. Yeah, I remember they're just getting pumped up, and it's United Center. And yeah,
Wait, are you talking about you're talking about Boiler Room? What are you talking about?
I'm talking about watching. I watched dang near every, like, we used to have a channel back home called, it's literally, the channel was called Sports Center.
Uh-huh.
It was out of Chicago, and they carried every single Bulls game.
Okay.
So I literally watched. I mean,
So why do you feel like?
So I didn't have that
But you
channel
put
because-
yourself in the '90s businessman.
because that's everybody who went to those games in the front row. Like that's everybody celebrating.
Brett would have been in
every
the front
big
row.
game.
That's crazy.
Yeah.
That of all
That's
the
just
things
in my head.
you're not thinking about music, culture. I mean, I guess you are. I guess all those things are.
Dude, that's what I grew up on. Was yeah.
So '90s businessman.
And the local Chicago announcers that called the games were the best.
Yeah.
I could
They were
see
awesome.
Brett being a 90s. Like
thought- I could
90s
see
being
Brett-
I mean, it's not too far off from
what he is.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's true.
What about you? Let me guess.
Yeah.
Right after the Great Depression, 30s, 40s.
I was going to say either right before or right after the Great
Yeah.
Depression for
Yeah,
sure.
yeah. That's you be rocking those knickers.
Yes.
Yeah. Telling your
That'd be-
telling your dad that Thomas stole the bread.
Dude, that'd be perfect for me. You just like 6 kids, right after the Depression.
Yeah.
Oh, back then you probably would have had like 10, 11.
Probably. Yeah. No kidding.
Yeah. No kidding.
No
but all
kidding.
kidding. All kidding.
I mean,
No
when
kidding.
did birth control pop up in the 60s or something?
Well, no, man. They talk about there are always forms of.
Okay,
birth
yeah,
control.
but we're talking about my wife here. I think that we would probably have like 11 kids, 11 or 12 back then.
Something we
But
didn't
yeah,
get into.
That would have been me.
something we
I
didn't
could
get into.
live with that. What about you?
during-
Rem, I'm pointing at Remington.
My first one, I think, like I've always said 60s and 70s just because I love the music.
Oh, okay.
I love it, love it, love it. However, the more I learn about the hippie movement, the less attracted. I think as a kid, I'd
I don't
be like,
think you would have. Yeah, you wouldn't have.
But like as driven as I am, I think it would have drove me nuts. And
Yeah.
the music would have been tied to that culture, and I probably wouldn't have
yeah.
enjoyed it as much. But I just love the rock and roll. From
I
the
love that
70s.
music too, but I would
So
be in the
good.
same boat.
Yeah,
I guarantee that I
it'd
would
be
have
like-
been anti-hippie.
Yeah, for sure. So then I go, okay, let's go a little bit deeper. I've been doing a lot of American history. I think like the founding fathers, like the 1700s. I think maybe I could do that. And then growing up, I loved the medieval times. I just loved everything about knights.
Now,
and
listen, if I guess I didn't think about like,
not past the 100 years.
yeah.
Past the centennial.
Did you guys ever go to Chicago to the medieval times?
Yes, I
No, I
loved
still
it.
kind of like
Coolest
the
place, dude.
You ever seen Cable Guy? Down,
Yes.
down, down.
yes.
Red Knight's going down.
That was so. We went in elementary school. That was like our
Yeah, they
sixth
give you a
grade
big
trip.
old turkey leg. You eat like kings. It's awesome.
My friend,
Great.
my mom went as a chaperone. My friend Brian Wilson and this other kid that I barely knew were like in our group. And while the place is going crazy, I don't know, Brian just kept yelling, "Quit pulling your sister's hair!" over and over and over and over again.
Like as a chant, like
tried to get
a
it.
jeer.
Yeah, yelling, throwing chicken legs everywhere. Like, yeah, my mom was like, "What do I do? I don't know what I do with this kid." Yeah, it was awesome.
Man, medieval times is cool though.
Oh, so cool.
It's still going, isn't it?
Medieval would not be for me.
No.
No.
What about it?
I love
What
the
about
American Revolution time
Yeah.
period, but I think that
Would you have
my
been a
sweet
spy?
spot would have been that like 30s, 40s.
Yeah.
You know, great generation.
I don't know why I thought that, but yeah.
Greatest generation. I think you're right. Yeah.
Anything pre 1900, your chances of just making it any amount of time are so.
Well, I think it goes.
Maybe your
low.
chances.
It goes through.
so low. So low. Like if you're crushing it, you're making it to 40.
Yeah, what did they say in the last book we just read?
42.
The life expectancy was 42.
In Different Stars Above, I meant to say this. The amount of times they talked about the young people getting jiggy with it just on the sides of the trail
listen, I tried
crazy.
to bring up all kinds of other stuff in that episode, and all you wanted to talk about was people
It's
eating
not
people.
all that we wanted to talk about is that was what the book was about.
Not true. Not true. That was
But
like
by the time he mentioned it,
a third of the book.
the
maybe.
first time he mentioned it, the rest of the book was
All right.
around
Every
eating
single
people.
reference of this that was
I want to hear some rap. I want to hear some. I wanna,
Oh shoot, we haven't even
I want
gotten
to
that
hear
far?
some.
You want me to go first?
You know what they didn't have in this movie? Slam poetry.
Well, no.
If anything,
Time
Yes,
out.
they did.
Time out. Yes,
Yes, they did. I wrote that down. I
Yeah.
was like, if Brett would have been in,
He
would have
definitely
been.
was rapping. One of the kids was
he
rapping.
was rapping.
The
But
Congo.
rapping and
Yeah.
slam poetry is different.
That's I think the most. Brett would have been the redheaded kid.
Yeah, oh well, I feel like Chris would have been the redheaded kid.
Well, time out. You're not talking about Cameron, are you?
No, not
talking
Cameron.
about practice.
the
Dalton.
smart kid.
Is it Dalton? Who is the?
I don't know. He's just the one that was doing the Congo, and
Yeah.
that's immediately when I thought.
Is
of
he the
Brett.
one that puts the lipstick on his face?
No,
No.
that's the troublemaker, and I've got a lot of notes on him.
Okay, Knox likes the girl.
No, it's the other one. It's
Chris?
no, Charlie. It's Charlie.
Charlie.
Charlie is the troublemaker. Knox is the guy that likes the girl.
That's what I said.
You
I
said the
Knox
one that
likes
puts the
girl.
stuff on his face is Charlie.
Brett is the one. I think Brett is Knox. Brett's the one that likes the girl.
I just thought that whoever's
Brett-
doing the rap reminded me.
What
of
I
Brett.
know about Brett for the last 18 years that I've known Brett is that Brett will do anything to get the girl.
I'll do anything to get the girl. That's
Anything.
You've known Brett longer than you haven't known Brett.
No.
Almost. He's
Not quite.
37.
Yeah, not
We're
quite.
another year.
Oh, I'm 36. You guys are old.
Yeah.
Hit
All
us.
right. We got 30 seconds of slam poetry. Here we go. Tradition, honor, discipline, excellence. Travesty, horror, decadence, excrement. Neil's dad, butthead. Oh, Captain, my Captain. Rip out the entire page. Mr. Keating, what's the Dead Poet Society? This desk is rather aerodynamic, isn't it, Todd? A Midsummer Night's Dream, starring Neil. When helicopter parenting goes wrong, starring Neil's dad. Cameron, what a fink. Mr. Nolan, what a bloke. Mr. Keating, let me introduce you to the scapegoat.
Whoa.
Nice work.
Yeah, thank you.
Whoa.
9 words, Mangus.
When you first started going, it reminded me of earth, fire, wind, water, heart.
Were they-
The heart was
These
always the
powers
one.
combined.
The heart
Right.
was always the one at the end. It's like, does this
Yeah,
matter?
what is this?
Like that was the one
Who
where they were
invited
like,
heart?
hey, we should include heart.
Who invited Hart? Who invited
These
that guy?
powers
Captain
combined.
Planet, Captain. Yes, yes.
I wish everybody could have seen Brett's face while he was trying
When he
to
put
figure
together
it
Captain
out.
Planet.
I was like, dun 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 dun. Dun. I'm like, what is this? And then I
Captain Planet, he's a hero. He's gonna take pollution down to
wasn't the
zero.
heart the little
Asian dude.
Asian kid? Yeah, he comes in. Yeah.
Hot. That's probably how he said it.
So funny.
All right, Mangus. 9 words. Sum it up for us.
9 words. Students inspired by new teacher, but establishment is pissed.
Oh, they are. And they don't like him early on. There's some omens.
And he's a product of the establishment.
Well, he's a product of the school for sure.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, the back of the cover says he's a star pupil, but even when he's talking, like if you look up his picture in the yearbook, which by the way was his real picture
Nice.
in a real yearbook. That's a
Nice.
fun fact for you. You can kind of tell he was not a troublemaker, but he didn't conform then either.
Yep. Nonconformist for sure.
Yeah,
Yeah.
which is definitely the theme of the movie. They want you to conform.
I will say, if I were to watch this movie 10 years ago, I'd have been like, when they started walking out with the tradition, honor, discipline, excellence, all the scrolls and all
You
that.
watch it a lot different.
I'd have been like, dude, this is so dumb. Now that I watch it, I'm a big fan of tradition now. I am.
Why?
And that's just from having kids growing up, going to a school that does similar stuff, or our kids going to the school that does similar things. I think it matters when it's handled correctly. Like, I think it really has a good, really, 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 really good effect on them.
I agree. Like anything, it can be abused, and people don't like it because they take it too far, but it's a good thing.
Yeah.
I agree.
Yeah, I would agree with that.
Yeah, the right traditions are good to be upheld for the right reasons. They shouldn't become the God. They shouldn't become the thing.
Yeah.
Right.
But yeah, discipline, excellence, tradition, and honor. Really interesting pillars, I guess.
Yeah, they would call them pillars, I think. Yeah, for sure.
Pillars of excellence. Or I guess excellence is one of them. So I don't know if pillars of excellence is one, but
It's interesting. They're sitting in the cave and they're smoking. Like some of them are smoking. This is shot in '89.
A lot of cigarette
yeah,
smoke.
about
but it was
the
based in
50s.
the 50s. You said
It's about the 50s.
yeah, dude. Everybody smoked.
I think mid '80s was when they started.
I don't even
like-
think the professors cared when they caught these kids smoking.
it definitely wasn't like.
Even though they like
it was
put
more
them
so
out.
It was disrespectful.
Disrespectful 'cause we told you not
So they
to,
put it
kind of
out.
thing.
You could obviously still smell the smoke without a doubt.
right.
I thought we were talking about it earlier, but I just wanted to hit on it again. Like Robin Williams' opening monologue as the teacher. Like, I think the best teachers I ever had went super deep at the beginning to get me to really care about what we were about to dive into that semester. And that's all their first class is all about, is like just
I bet the teachers that were tougher were the ones that you actually enjoyed.
100%.
Yeah.
The teachers I thought were cool in high school were definitely the ones that I realized as I was older. I was like, oh, that wasn't supposed to be like that. That was
You weren't supposed to have that relationship with them?
like there was a teacher that was super cool from day one. Definitely like handed out study guides to tests, but it was just the exact same thing as a test, just in different order.
We
stuff
all
like
had
that.
those
Well,
lazy teachers.
Because he was a coach.
So dumb. Yeah.
And he was just teaching because he needed a teacher, whatever.
Yeah.
And then I'm like, dude, this guy's he'd
just
let us.
cashing in his chips.
You could stop by his class and get a pass if you were late to something, and be like, hey, dude, can I get a pass? And he give you one, whatever. And like, oh, this guy's so great. Now looking back, I'm like, what a loser. Like, what a-
Maybe. I don't
Well,
know
no,
if he goes so far.
there's more to that story. This guy got in trouble for some stuff, but
not all those
Yeah.
guys.
Yeah.
Not all those guys are losers. Sometimes they want to have like good relationships so that you listen. I mean, they're not
If
all
that's your strategy.
created equal.
Yeah, if that's your strategy, sure.
So while he's doing this speech, he I think quotes Walt. I think it's a Walt Whitman quote. Walt Whitman was highlighted heavily in this movie, but he says, "Gather ye rosebuds, while the May," and it's speaking of the youth specifically. And I think the thing that I like most about this, just philosophically, is that the thing that I like most philosophically about this is that Robin Williams is treating these students. He's trying to call the adult out of them. He's trying to help them to think on their own. He's trying to help them to come up with what is it that you think about the world, right? Whereas the establishment, and this is where I think that the school...
You say adult or free thinking kid?
No, free thinking human.
Yeah, I don't think you need to emphasize
not kid,
adult because they're still like 16, 17, 18. I don't know. He's not trying to draw the adult out of it.
I think he is. I think he's trying to draw like, what is it that makes you a man, right?
I can see that. Okay.
Well, he's trying to draw that out of them. He's trying to help them to be able to be ready for independent thought, be ready to be able to contribute to society. What he was going up against that I saw that I think is a massive problem in education at large is that is still the case is they said, no, we just need to get them ready for college.
Yep.
We need to get them prepared for college and let the rest take care of themselves. Well, this is a pretty modern thing, and modern meaning like within the last 50, 60 years, 80 years, right? Is that, oh, no. we're not trying to prepare these kids for adulthood and to be great citizens and great humans by the time they're 16. We're trying to get them to college.
Yeah.
We're trying to prepare them for college. There's entire schools that are college preparatory
Which is crazy
schools.
to me because of even just like the basic stats of how many kids actually go to college. It's a very small percentage. So why are we not trying to coach these kids to be adults by the time they get out?
100%.
So let me ask you this, Marcus, because you went to an all-boys college.
Yes.
This is an all-boys...
all men.
That's debatable, but...
Yeah.
So you've got this movie. I don't know if it's K through 12, but it's definitely middle school.
I would guess that it's like 6 through 12.
Yeah. It's probably 6 through 12. And... I wrote down, and I don't know the answer to this, but you having gone to an all-male college,
yeah,
what is more important in the life of a man developing around female students? Them going to a high school with female students or a college with female students, is it necessary at all? I mean, the amount of time they're spending just at an all-men's institution.
So... I actually think that it is important for them to be around girls, around women. However, I visited a school up in South Bend that has both guys and girls, but it's 6th through 12th grade. It's a classical school as well. And they separate all of their classes, boys and girls. So they go to school together, but they don't go to class together.
Okay.
And they separate out the boys and girls.
You like that or you don't like
I
that?
observed it for an entire day.
Yeah.
And I thought to myself, man, there's a lot of value here.
Interesting.
And it's very similar to the value that I feel like I experienced in college with no girls present in class. Is just that you're able to be boys, you're able to be men, you're able to ask questions.
You're able
without
to focus with girls. I don't know about you guys. With girls around, that's my
Focus-
only...
Focus is a big piece of it.
I totally wrote that down.
Focus is a massive
Yeah.
piece of this.
Even
Is
when he
because-
says carpe diem, he's saying this to 16 to 18-year-old boys. At what point did you start thinking about anything besides sports and girls?
Yeah.
Well,
Like-
and what's great is that like Keating knows this and he plays into it. He says like, "What's the purpose of language? To woo women."
Yeah.
You know? And so like he plays into this. He does the whole thing where he's making fun of the guy who's walking with his penis out in front first. He's
Yes.
like he's been being driven by a new force completely. Yeah. But you can't make those jokes with women present.
If you haven't watched the movie, his penis isn't actually out. Just,
well, I meant like
This-
forward,
yes,
like thrust forward.
Yes.
But
Totally PG-13 movie. For
but
PG, actually.
it's rated
Yeah.
PG.
Yeah.
Yeah. But my point
This
is
podcast
like
is not.
those kinds of conversations can only happen in a single sex environment.
You're right. Right here where they're dancing like idiots, that would not happen.
Yeah.
They would
Correct.
not let loose like that if
So
girls
much
were
And
around.
I
bro
think
time,
it
yeah.
actually benefits boys
For sure.
more than it does girls. Because I think girls are able to be more themselves
Yeah.
in
Yep.
class, whereas boys are not.
Right.
And the single sex
animals.
education allows for boys and young men to actually be themselves and for their teachers to be able to lean into
All right,
that.
so answer my question then. Back to the original question. What do you think is more detrimental? Women being a part of early school education or college? Does it matter? Yes, no, maybe.
Which is more...
I mean, because you went to a completely all different scenario altogether. There was girls until the bell rang, and then there's teaching environments. These kids are not around women except for summers, if they even are.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, we didn't... It's not like we had girls around. We had like girlfriends and stuff that came and visited.
So
I don't
then-
know. I went
so
to
then I
plenty of
think that's
Wabash
different.
parties. Pretty solid ratio.
Okay,
Well, yeah.
So that wasn't happening at this
Correct.
boarding
This is a
school.
boarding school. Yeah.
Yeah, this is a boarding school. I think that if you could just get, if you could separate it out, my guess is that like 6th to 12th grade, if you could separate that out, boys and girls, and that be something that was consistent, I think you'd see scores rise above anything else.
I think that's probably true.
Yeah.
Would you send your kid to a boarding school?
A boarding school?
Yeah.
No. I wouldn't.
I don't.
Let me rephrase it. Which kid do you want to send to a boarding school right now?
Sometimes my kids accidentally listen to this.
I love the idea.
I love you all.
At least at our school, it's like, hey, this is an extension of the home.
Yeah.
It's not a replacement. That at that point, somebody else is raising your children.
Yeah.
And I don't think that was God's intention.
Yeah, agreed.
So, yeah. I want to talk about Todd. So, Todd. Ethan Hawke's character. So he's clearly intrigued by Mr. Keating. He's clearly the most.
Do you know what I'm quoting?
Yes.
Mel Kiper?
Yeah. Well, you're quoting.
I'm quoting Frank Caliendo.
Yeah.
Todd.
So Todd is the most curious, the most like, oh wow, we can think this way of anybody. But he's also
Todd?
Ethan Hawke.
Ethan Hawke.
But he's also the most scared to do anything with any of it.
Public speaking, writing poems.
Everybody goes to study group the first night after class. Todd is in his dorm room by himself, and he writes "seize the day" on a piece of paper. Like you can tell he's so motivated by this. And then he's like embarrassed by it, crumples it up and throws it away. What I love about Neil's character is he could totally be the cool kid that doesn't include anybody. Like for whatever reason, he completely like includes Todd in all of this and really
Neil's
pushes
a
him.
leader, man.
Neil is complete
It's his
leader.
roommate. It's his roommate.
It is his roommate, but
So he feels, but he's including other people too. Like he
Neil's
includes
a leader.
Pitts when Pitts doesn't
Yeah.
want to go to the cave.
man, he's so great, man. So I think, it just
He's an influencer. He's a leader.
So then this is why it was really hard pill to swallow. The ending happens the way it does.
100%. It's
not
supposed to be.
not just because it's like sad, but because like again, I don't know that the movie gave us enough for us to be like that's realistic for him.
Well, I think it clearly like it definitely set the tone of this has been. Is it Mr. Peters? Is that Neil Peters? Neil,
Yeah, maybe.
So Neil's dad
We'll call him
clearly
Mr. Peters.
clearly has done this to him his entire life, just based on how he responds to certain things.
Well,
So
He's in charge, but
I
here's the
wrote
thing.
this
He
question
is in
down.
charge. This kid is still in high school. So the very first note I wrote down
Okay.
is he's in charge. And if he doesn't want you to do something and you do it and lie about it, then he has every right to be upset and disciplined. And up until the point where he says you're going to enlist.
yeah,
I saw nothing wrong
Well, he's gonna go to military school.
morally. That's what I said.
But
oh, yeah, okay. So military school.
But here's the thing: is as parents, this was tough for me too because there's a difference I think between like telling your kid you have to do blank.
mm-hmm.
So what was the thought process behind his dad pushing him here? He's like, no, you have to go to Harvard. You have to go to law school. You have to become a doctor. Then you can disagree with me.
And it was, you're not going to waste what I created for you. It always came back to him. You're not going to disappoint your mom.
I've sacrificed a lot for you.
Yep. To give you
so
things
that
I didn't
you
have.
can go to Harvard, and then you can go, to not law school.
Medical school.
You can go to medical school.
Yep.
You can be a doctor, and that's wrong. Like you as a parent need to pull out the best in your kid.
Mm-hmm.
There's a difference between me helping my kid with the discipline of getting his homework done and pushing him to operate at his highest level and saying you have to go to Harvard, you have to go to medical school, and you have to be a doctor. And there's a clear delineation of right and wrong there, in my opinion.
So I wrote down, I would argue that boarding school and the lack of connection with parents was greater than a strict dad that led to his demise. Being a strict dad is okay. Wanting the best for your kid is okay.
Yeah.
Telling your kid what to do up until a certain point is still okay. I think the problem is he sent him to boarding school. This dude, like...
But he says, like,
he doesn't want to have a connection with his son. He wants his son to be a reflection.
But
of
he
him.
says, I've decided that you have too many extracurriculars. because it's going to distract you from going to getting into Harvard, basically, even though this kid's getting all A's. It's like, well, what?
Again, that's
what
annoying. There's
you
nothing wrong with that. If one of our fathers said, we've decided that you can't do that many extracurricular because it's going to mess with you and your grades are going to slip, I would hate it.
But it wasn't true.
But it wasn't. But how can you say that? Like how?
Because
how can
he got all A's.
Yeah, but he had never done that many extracurriculars up to that point. He stacked his extracurriculars, and in order for him to not let his grades slip, he said, "I don't want you to do this." I know your parents have done things like that in the past where you don't agree with it, and it's still not morally wrong.
And I fought with them about it.
But it wasn't morally wrong.
I think part of it was too, like the way he kept on saying the acting business.
I don't know, man. I think that that the motivation behind why is wrong.
Yeah, because
Sure.
I don't think it was just
No one's arguing that.
You're saying it's not morally wrong. I'm arguing
what he
with
said
that.
was what he said and what he did was not morally wrong. The heart behind it, you can argue with that, but the act itself was not wrong.
Well, if the
It's
heart
something our
is
parents
wrong,
would
then
do.
it is wrong. It's a wrong decision.
To him, but the actual act itself, regardless of what the heart was, the act of saying you cannot do this because of this is not wrong. And it's within the will of the parent who is paying for it and in his household to do so.
Yeah, that's fine. Well, so permissible versus beneficial.
I don't know.
Right? I think
I'm not arguing that, but like I think
permissible.
everyone crucifies the dad at the end of this movie because of what happens, and we need to give it away because we got to get to it at some point. But Neil is the one who commits suicide at the end. Which, by the way, if you're watching this, a couple of the kids say things and show like insecurities to the point where
this is not
like,
the only parent that's pushing in this way.
you're right. It's not the only Charlie's.
I would say actually the majority of the kids' parents are putting this kind of pressure on their kids to be lawyers, to be doctors.
Charlie's trying to get kicked out of school.
Yes.
He's rich, and I didn't realize he was rich until the end. I was like, why is he? He's a nonconformist. Like, he's always the one goofing up and acting weird. Unless Robin Williams asks him to act weird, then he stands in the corner. Did you find that was interesting?
I didn't even pick up on that.
But I really liked that. I don't know.
Yeah, he's the one that's going to do the chicken dance when everyone else is trying to do their homework. But if Robin Williams says get up and do the chicken
He's
dance,
like, I'm exercising
he's like,
my right not to
I'm
walk.
too cool for that. But really,
But he got it. He got this stuff right away because it just makes sense for him.
So anyway, I thought Charlie's character,
I
especially
do-
when we found out he was rich, was a very interesting
I
character.
do agree with you that Neil's dad probably gets a worse rap than needed, and we'll get into it when we get there. But Keating is not completely innocent here at all. I think.
See where you go with that.
Yeah, I think he's, he's as a leader, as somebody that is influencing young men like that. Like, I don't know. There's a little,
but he
little bit
didn't
of responsibility as
encourage the kids to go. He didn't encourage him to go against his dad's wishes.
Correct.
Quite
Like,
the opposite.
he even says, like, hey, you need to talk to your dad about this. And then Neil lies to him about talking to him about it.
So why do you think that what Keaton was doing was wrong? Because I disagree with that.
So
You think he should be held responsible for Neil or just responsible for the kids being nonconformist?
I think that he, so clearly, like, this institution.
Can we just say free thinking?
Well, the movie's about nonconformists. Like, they use the word conforming. The headmaster.
What I wrote down was, this is really just one big lesson. Oh, that's going to sound horrible.
Brett's not crying.
Brett's actually going to get pneumonia now.
This is really just one big lesson in resisting the world's desire to conform us to the rat race instead of actually living. Yeah? I think that's what he's trying to get them to do. Actually live, actually figure out what.
And you think that's a problem?
No. But I was answering that question of, is it free thinking? Is it nonconformist? Whatever.
Okay. Yeah.
I think that, like, as an example,
the world is designed for you to be on the rat race. Hey, go to high school, go to college, get a job, work the job,
Especially a
make
school
money.
like this.
make money, do all the things. Right? I mean, whereas what they view as a threat is somebody that is able to think for themselves and think freely and knows history and knows literature and knows all these things.
No, Maybe.
Yeah.
I think it's more they know those things, but then they use those as a freedom to be creative. To like, they all know it. They all know the education. It was the fact that they ripped out the first chapter, what to do with poetry. So that one of the notes is like basically ranking and scoring poetry on a Y and X axis, and it's based off of
I
two
would have
things.
loved this in class, by the way. He would have had me from the beginning.
Having you rip out the intro.
Oh,
Because
if I would have read that intro, I would have thought it was freaking dumb.
It basically said how to evaluate a poem, and on the y-axis was importance, and on the x-axis was perfection. And this is the funny part at the very beginning of the movie where the kids actually... Have you ever been that kid? He's copying the notes, not knowing that he's like...
Dude, that kid.
And then he's like, scrap that. And then he scribbles it all out. I've done that before where I'm just taking notes blindly, just writing down everything they say and be like, oh, that was a waste.
Yeah, but don't you guys, isn't it so funny that it's like the redhead? Because like, I just see Chris being that kid that's like writing it all down. Like, oh.
No, you
so
think
funny.
about Chris way more than we do. I tell you
I
that.
just thought it was
the amount
so
of times
funny.
you bring up Chris.
I just thought it was hilarious.
So that part where they're ripping out the pages made me cry though. Like I'm the kind of guy that does not even crease my chapters when I have to have a bookmark.
Oh
like,
really?
Oh yeah. I typically don't
sorry.
write notes in
I'm
books.
sorry for what I do to my books when we come in here.
It's brutal.
So you asked why is Keating responsible at all? He does leave the Dead Poets Society book with
Responsible
Neil.
for what?
I loved that. You didn't think that
I
was
loved
good?
it. I loved it too. I'm just saying
He's letting these kids run with it in a way that's their own.
he's
But hold
letting
on,
them.
I want to see responsible for what?
I think that when you know you're giving them that freedom to go do the types of things that they're doing, I feel like now you're responsible and you're committed to more check-in, more tough questions, more. You've got to play on both sides now. If you're going to lean into that and tell them to live free, awesome. Now you also are responsible for checking in more
I did
often.
write this down. I'm curious what you guys think. So on this same note, I wrote down, I'm a little bit of paradoxically, I want my kids to push boundaries and get in trouble, even though I'm going to be the one that has to discipline them.
Yeah.
Like I want to hear these stories of them going out and doing these things. Like I can think of many times where I pushed the boundaries, did something that was a little bit risky or might
Stayed
have
out till
gotten me in
11:01
trouble
p.m. Yep.
or whatever. And so many times, those are the times that you learn the most. Those are the times that
Drink a
the
pop
best-
after midnight.
The best stories. You making fun of me, Brett?
I always had a problem with people who signed up, understood the rules, broke the rules, and then got upset that they got in trouble.
Right.
Because, like, so for instance,
If I break the
all of
rules and
that-
I get in trouble, I
Yeah.
got to take it.
I just
all
want
of
you
that-
to own it.
Yeah.
Just own it.
All of that had a lifestyle covenant where you couldn't drink while you're at school, no matter if you're 21 or not. You sign that, you go to school. And some of the kids would raise their hand in class and be like, I don't understand why I can't do my God-given. And I was like, really? You don't understand? Like,
Because you signed a covenant?
and you don't understand when you do it? Like, I was like, listen, I did have alcohol at times when I was there, and I was fully prepared to accept my punishment if I did, because I said I wouldn't.
There was no punishment at Wabash for alcohol.
Well, you say that, and that was an interesting parallel that you went through with...
Oh, yeah. Well, that was...
I don't know if we want to get onto that on this episode.
I think
but-
we might.
Are you still? Is this an open?
No.
No. Okay, so we're good.
Yeah,
it's not
we're
an
good.
open case.
Nope.
Is that what you're talking
It
about?
hasn't been for a long time.
All right, good, awesome.
Yeah.
No, we were in Costa Rica on incentive trip. Bunch of students
Recently.
and a girl that plays. I'll just say she plays a sport at an Indiana Christian university. They were getting ready to smoke cigars, and she was like, "Well, what would it like?" She was asking that group, like, "What would it show up? Like, is do I inhale? Is it tobacco? Whatever?" And I listened in and whatever, and I totally afterwards, I'm like, "Dude, I should have just been like, if you signed a covenant that you weren't going to do it, it shouldn't matter. That
Correct.
You're asking the wrong question, right?
Yeah.
But yeah, I think
Not
that's
will I get caught?
Yeah.
But did I sign this covenant or not?
Dude, am I true to my word? Do I have integrity? Period.
Yeah.
I think this is probably. I battle my oldest Willow with this. She's 7 all the time. If
Like
she
smoking
does,
cigars.
Yeah.
if she does something on, I'm going to use air quotes, accident.
Yeah, it was an accident. I didn't know.
I didn't. Whatever.
Yeah.
Helping her understand there's still a consequence.
Yeah.
If
Yep.
we're really working hard to get through that. But
Yeah.
I want so badly to be like, yes, I messed up. What's my punishment? Like,
Right.
But then again, don't we do the same thing? Probably.
So I'll take
right?
it even a step further because like the whole Olivet drinking thing, honestly, I shouldn't have done that. I said I wouldn't. That's an integrity issue. I shouldn't have done it because I said I wouldn't do it.
Yeah.
But again, I would accept it.
But you knew that you would have accepted it. You're not
I
going
would
to
have.
fight.
I would have.
Fight it.
I'll take it a step further. Rules that are put in place that you don't agree with, that you don't sign that you agree with them, but you have to abide by. Like if you think about like the laws that Jesus
Like
broke.
paying taxes.
No, that's not what I mean.
Oh, you don't pay taxes?
No, that's not what I mean. But like, so Jesus broke.
You just got
laws.
REM audited, dude. Come on.
Yeah, I'm 15 years.
Guess I got to give these hats back.
Yeah, those are the guys listening to our podcast. 9% German listeners, by the way. I just thought.
Let's
that was
go,
odd.
Germany!
Yeah, which we are not pro-German on this podcast. We're
Don't-
actually
Whoa.
pretty hardcore.
Dankeschön?
Actually, we just read the facts.
Yeah,
They want to fight the world twice.
Yeah.
So
it happened.
anyway, I don't have a good example of this, but like I saw a reel of a guy that said, and I still don't know what I think about this. Basically, this guy, his sister was being picked on, and he said, "Don't talk about my sister that way." And they kept coming at him. So to defend his sister, he basically hit the kid. Now let's just say he was in self-defense. Let's say it was self-defense, and he goes to the principal's office, and there's a rule against fighting. And he called his dad, and he goes. He goes, "Son, I'm proud of you for defending your sister." And he goes, "Okay, but I got suspended." And he's like, "Yep, because you also have the consequence of doing what you knew was right, but there is a consequence for those actions." That's the tough one.
Totally.
The tough one is there's a rule against this,
But it's the right thing to
But
do.
it's the right thing to do.
I felt like the disciples got into this all the time, right? Especially after Jesus dies, they're out there preaching.
Yep.
They get thrown in jail. They're not fighting being thrown in jail.
Right.
As a matter of fact, they go to jail. They get out of jail. They just go right back to preaching again
Right.
because like that's what they're called to do. That's what they're supposed to do.
Yeah.
Right. And there are times like that where it's like, look, that's not. I understand that that's a law. That law is not moral. That law is not what should be in the world, and I'm going to break that law. And I think during like segregation, I was watching.
You think there's any laws
I watched
right
a
now?
lot of movies this last week because I was sick, like for a lot. So I was
Right,
watching
remember
Hidden Figures.
types? Oh.
I was watching Hidden Figures, and there's a lot of like Jim Crow laws that were wrong, that are immoral.
Yeah.
And one of the ways that they combated that was by just breaking the law.
Is there a law right now that you think is unlawful or immoral?
Oh, that'd be tough. I'm not sure.
I'm not educated enough on.
In this
laws.
moment, I can't think of one, and there's been times in history where there was. You know what I mean?
I think about that often of what do I not realize is totally crazy right now that 50 years from now we're going to go, I
Yeah.
can't believe we used to blank.
Part of the reason I'm thinking through this whole Neil and his dad and the suicide at the end of the movie is I started reading the book that you guys are reading.
Anxious
The
Generation?
Anxious Generation. I haven't gotten to the part where they talk about adults, but it seems like while the kids are an issue,
No, he's gonna do.
it's also an
he's
adult
gonna do
issue.
a new book. So he started off doing
He's just
a
doing
book
the kids.
about this stuff in general, but he
Yeah.
said, "Oh, I had to do one."
Yeah, basically the first
That was
part he
focused on
basically
this
talks
generation.
about how like everyone blames like he's like you're sitting in a crowd and you think to yourself, of course this generation is anxious. There's world wars and the epidemic and COVID and all this stuff. And he makes the argument that since the beginning of time there's always been stuff like this. What has not been is access to social media and that many things working against you, all the stuff that's going on screens on the internet. And it's a very strong argument. And what's crazy about this book is this stuff we know. We all know this.
Yeah.
100%.
It's like
Yep.
it's not. I was.
But now the research says it.
Well, what's funny is like I was making the argument that it's not a lack of education that's the problem with America, it's a lack of discipline. And I'll give you a great example. Did you guys watch Super Size Me?
Yes.
The whole part of the documentary,
story.
Documentary is about how bad McDonald's is for you. This guy gains a ton of weight. He gets a ton of health problems. At the end of the movie, I just wanted a Big Mac.
Dude.
I just wanted McDonald's. And I'm not the only one who said that.
No.
So there's no such thing as bad advertising.
I have to tell this story. So
But do you get my point? It's not a lack of education. We know. We
Correct.
choose not to. We eat McDonald's knowing.
Carpe diem, man.
Before Marcus
diem.
answer your question, the issue is having access to a phone with internet, with a screen, and social media while you're going through puberty.
Yes.
That's the
Correct.
big difference.
Correct.
Especially
But also
that's what the
especially
book
for,
focuses
but
on.
also everybody else
Yes.
too. Yeah. All right, tell your your
my
fat story.
my Super Size Me story. So I'm just finished up with my freshman year of college, right? My mom wakes me up in the morning at, we'll call it 7 a.m., right? She says, Marcus, the school is on the phone. The school being my high school, right? Which I lived 7 blocks from. I pick up the phone, like, hello? And they say, hey, we are dreadfully low on subs for today. We heard that you're home. Like, can you come sub for PE and health?
How old are you?
For 7th graders. 20.
Okay.
Yeah, I was 20. I just finished my freshman year of college.
I'm caught up.
And I was like, all right, well, when do I need to be there? And whatever time I woke up, I needed to be there 15 minutes later. Okay? And like they're on the phone with me, so clearly they need like a warm body.
Yeah.
Right? And I was like, well, since it's PE and health, can I wear sweatpants? And they said yes. And so I just like jump out of bed, throw sweatpants on, and go there. And I'm subbing for a teacher that I knew. And I had to do a couple of periods of PE and a bunch of periods of health. So I watched Super Size Me during health class like 4 or 5 times. And I'm not kidding you when I say right after school I drove to McDonald's.
Yes. So that's what I'm saying. And like it's funny and we're laughing about it, but that's honestly the issue. We thought the education was the problem. We don't know what's in our cereal. We don't know. But guess what? There's enough reels and influencers and anywhere you get your information to tell you that cereal's not good for you, wheat's not good for you, bread products.
Man, cereal not being good for you is some of my least favorite news.
Yeah.
I love cereal.
Yeah.
So good.
It's on the ban. The products are in the ban list on
You know
most parts of Europe.
the Premier Protein shakes
we
I
don't
brought
care.
to the Olympics that you loved?
Yeah.
So they came out with a Premier Protein cereal.
Mm-hmm.
It is cardboard.
Yeah, dude.
Yeah.
Anything
That's
anything like
I
that
never
that's actually good
understood.
for you tastes terrible.
For sure. Anyone who tries to make a healthy version of something, just don't eat that thing.
No,
Like it's not good.
just
It's not
eat
good.
the healthy.
Just
things.
eat meat and eggs and fruit.
I was telling Rem and Marcus, you brought it up too, and it's at the part where it's playing in the background here where. Now this is Knox right here.
This is great.
Knox is at the
This is a
party.
great
He's
scene.
chasing Chris.
I was not good at parties.
I never went.
I
went to
I didn't
parties.
go to parties until I was in college.
I was
and I was
great at parties. This
Yes,
guy,
this tracks.
this football player that is basically feeding Knox drinks reminded me of my friend Tony Brewer. Shout out T Brew.
T Brew.
This is after high school graduation. He is sitting at Dan Meyer's kitchen table. We're having a huge party afterwards, and he is sitting there with a case of beer and a Solo cup, and everyone that passes, he goes, all right, I got 2 options. Option 1, I pour this in this cup, and I sip on it like a little you-know-what. Option 2, I chug it. Which one should I do? And they would always pick chug it, and he kept tally marks on the Solo cup every single time he chugged it.
gosh.
It was great. But that was those guys, the mutt guys.
That's funny.
Knox is like that young love. I know
so
I did,
great.
but we all did crazy, stupid stuff that I mean, when I first started dating Remington's sister, who I'm not married to and have 5 kids with.
Heyo.
I drove on Valentine's Day while we were dating from Indy to Grace, picked her up, drove her back down to Indianapolis to go to St. Elmo's.
Yeah.
And then drove her back to Grace.
Why
And
St.
then you
Elmo's?
drove back.
What was so
And
great
the-
about St. Elmo's that you needed? Was it a payoff?
No, it was just
Was it a date?
I was
It was
young
just
and in
Valentine's
love,
Day.
man.
There
It was-
wasn't anywhere up
He
north
didn't
you
want to
could
go to the lake house.
Oh, the lake. By the way, somebody recommended me Logan. If you're listening to this, recommended a lake house for a Champions Night. What are we doing?
Not good.
No,
I've been there like once.
Are you thinking boathouse?
Is it Boathouse?
See,
Boathouse.
you-
Also bad.
well, one
That's
of
what I
them's
think.
one of them's good.
I meant Boathouse.
Okay. Well, no. Okay, cool. It's not the one connected to the
I meant Boathouse.
Oakwood Resort. Not
Is
the
what
one
I'm-
connected
That's
to Oakwood
the
Resort.
frog. That is one
No.
star.
I meant Boathouse.
No, not the one connected to Oakwood Resort. The
Yeah.
one that is literally 5 blocks from Grace College.
Yeah,
Yeah,
boathouse.
not great.
No, I like Boathouse.
The Oakwood Resort is fantastic.
Oakwood Resort is great.
The pier.
Bennington
did-
Marine
I
has
did
it all
write
right now,
down-
all August.
At some point, I wrote down, man, that first. Yeah, it was on my hidden gems. But since we're
Go ahead.
there, like when, I guess it's been so long for me at this point in time. But like that first time when you've been trying to get that date or whatever, there's so much like tension.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
then you guys touch
anxiety
and you like touch hands
Oh yeah.
for the first
Oh,
time.
yeah.
I mean, there's something just electric
Yes.
about that.
Yeah.
And it's just fraught with
I remember the
all
first time
the
a girl
things
touched
that,
my leg. I said, "I gotta go."
well, I even think about like the first time like Jessica and I held hands.
Yeah.
You know? It's just there's just something electric, and I thought they did a really cool job in this story. Maybe it's because they're showing the guy's side of it so much, but it just really resonated.
I
with
loved
me.
it.
So what is it? So Kelsey and I kind of got into this debate, and it's like, whatever the world defines as like a more attractive person. I think the more like scientifically proven, the more symmetric your face is, the more supposedly attractive you are to more people.
Yeah.
So if we take the science of
That's my problem.
an objectively more attractive person, Charlie's attracted to this girl
Yeah.
and doesn't see any other girl because this girl, and my argument was because this girl gave him attention, and now that's all he needed once he finds her attractive to now go for it.
Now here's where I can offer some insight on the all male perspective. Is this dude doesn't see girls? Okay.
Yeah, you're as
Now-
faithful as your options.
Now
the
was
one.
she
She's
attractive?
option
Sure.
one
So was she the
but he
first
goes
one?
to one dinner.
Yeah.
He sees this girl and he's like, "Oh, I'm definitely in love
Yeah.
with this girl.
But here's what
my
I'm saying.
hormones are raging.
Okay.
I am for sure in love."
I agree with you. So now when he sees her with 3 other girls, equally if not more attractive, why does he still see her that way? Is my question. Is what we were
Dude,
debating.
well, because he's locked in.
He's
locked
fantasizing
in.
about her all day. He's thinking about her all day. He's
I agree.
Yeah,
I,
he's
I get
totally
it. For whatever reason,
infatuated.
she could not understand.
Is she the arrow or the
oh,
target?
Oh my god! I still don't know what that means.
one of my favorite.
Oh.
Good.
Well, I gotta say this because it's the all male thing. So, around Halloween, so I had to be for one of the hazings that I had to dress up all week. During Halloween week, I had to dress up as Cher, and the funny
You
thing
didn't have
is
a beard
like,
back in college.
I did not have a beard. Well, not for this specific costume. I definitely didn't have a beard. But I like went all out. Okay, like
You're like, if
I
you're
wore,
gonna do this, you're not gonna win.
well, you have to go all out because if you're not good enough, like there's more consequences.
Okay.
And so I go all out. Like I've got a dress.
Are there pictures of this?
Probably. I've got a dress. I've got heels. I've got long black
You walked
hair.
to class in heels.
Oh yeah, for a week. For a week.
I need to see.
Which
these
is
pictures.
totally acceptable because everybody knows exactly why it's happening, right? But so I'm walking to class one day.
Did you get hit on?
I'm walking to class one day,
No, this is going.
I knew it.
and someone says something, and I turn around.
Time out. If you know Marcus, there's a very important part of the story that we're probably not going to
Very
get to.
important
Let me
physical
guess.
feature that Marcus has.
They walked up from behind you.
They were behind me. These people were behind me. And I turn around and look behind me, and this guy just goes, "Oh man!" Because man, you don't see girls in our college. You know.
That is so bad. Oh man, I'd be devastated. Oh my gosh, that's the funniest story.
For listeners that don't know, Marcus has quite the badonkadonk.
Oh yeah, I got a honky tonk badonkadonk.
He does. Oh jeez.
I got it going on like Donkey Kong.
How do you find jeans? Serious question. How do you find jeans?
I don't know, man.
Do you just have to tie your belt really tight?
I just have to try everything on.
Nah, man.
Yeah, I just got to try
The
it
next
all
person comes, they're like, "What the heck,
dude?"
Oh,
So
man.
funny.
I gotta see a picture of that.
How do we even make it through the rest of the podcast now? That was good.
That was good.
Okay, so we
I
definitely.
got a ton of hidden gems if we want.
I've written-
Well, no,
Whoa,
but
whoa.
we've definitely entered the. I guess I don't know when you would call it the turn, but by the way, when Keating asked Neil if he had talked to his dad about
Yes.
it, and he's like, "Yep, talk to him, whatever."
Yeah.
We could all tell
He knows
clearly
he knows
didn't.
he's lying.
Does Keating know he was lying?
Keating knows he's
So that's
lying.
one of my examples of like, dude, you gotta.
No. He handled it perfectly. He doesn't.
You have to assume that kid's telling you the truth.
No, he's not going to keep pushing. Like, are you lying to me? He's a old enough kid to be like. He doesn't have to do that. Twice.
I have had this conversation with many a.
So what if he's
20,
lying? It
21
doesn't change anything. He's not the one that's in charge of the play. He's not in charge of that kid.
But no.
He's just a mentor saying.
I just
he's
assume
heartbroken that he's lying.
responsibility that when I leave that conversation, if I'm going to look that kid's parents in the eye someday, and not without the suicide, none of that. If I'm going to look the kid's parents in the eye someday, I want to be able to say, hey, I really tried to make this a win-win.
I think he did.
I would have been like, hey, I could be crazy here. Tell me if I'm nuts. I just get the feeling that you're not giving me completely honest
And
with
then
me.
what?
And then
He's gonna do what he wants
In
to
my
do.
experience, the kid tells me what the honest truth is.
Okay, but even still, it doesn't change the fact that he's gonna do it, and he just didn't want to have the cut. All that changes is the fact that he's telling him the truth, but that doesn't change the fact he's gonna do it and go against his father's will. He just didn't want
I've
Keating.
experienced moments where they go back and do the right thing still.
Maybe I don't think Keating is at fault at all in that moment. I think he's like, "Hey, I'm gonna ask you twice. I'm not in charge of you. You're a grown man. Like, if you want to lie to me, we both know you're lying." And I think that's all the purpose.
I've talked to you guys about this before, but I fell into the trap of trying to be likable versus.
I don't think that's what he's doing.
That's not.
I don't think.
Yeah.
I don't
think he's doing
I might
that
be
either.
leaning into that.
Yeah,
too.
I don't think he's doing that
Keating's
either.
trying to be like
And actually, I think it's even potentially possible that Keating didn't know that the kid was lying.
Man, he
we'll
was.
see the scene. By the way, this kid's getting spanked.
I'm just saying,
this
it could go either way.
grown kid.
Dude, have you guys
16-year-old man.
ever gotten hit with a paddle like that before?
Yes.
No, my principal in
It takes your
elementary school
breath
had one though.
away.
Okay. Well, I'm not going to tell the paddle story, but it hurts.
Yeah,
it hurts a
does.
lot.
Really?
It does
Holes in it make it worse?
Oh, I don't know. I didn't have holes in the ones that I got hit with.
I feel like
And I
your,
say ones that I got hit with.
your speed would be better with the holes. But
Right? Speed.
That's
I don't
what the holes
feel
are
like
for.
I don't feel like speed was a problem.
Yeah.
when resistance would be it's
My
it's
kids
wide.
are really lucky that I don't really spank them because I have a sweet paddle that I could spank them with. And,
Your delt paddle?
oh yeah.
Yeah. You're saying you haven't spanked them with a paddle.
Yeah, I've spanked them, but very rarely.
Yeah.
Yeah, very rarely.
When you have perfect kids, there's no need to spank.
That is, my kids are not perfect.
Riley would tell me, Brett, you better not go any further with this conversation on
We've already been
a
canceled
public
this episode.
podcast.
Who cares?
Well, hey, of course, of course.
Who cares, Riley?
So Neil goes to the play, awesome, crushes it. His dad's in the background.
Mm-hmm.
Did you get the feeling that Neil had a slight, little, tiny bit of hope
That his dad
was going to be impressed?
Yeah, totally. I remember the first time
thought
I
he was
watched
terrified.
it. No, the first time I watched it.
I think he's scared at first, and then he gets rolling.
Yeah.
And I think he thinks.
Well,
like,
even the speech itself is so redemptive.
yeah. The
that-
dad is so stone-faced.
And he's looking straight at his dad. You could
and
tell.
his dad, it felt like they were making the director wanted us to believe like,
Yeah.
oh, he's having a change of heart
Yeah,
here.
yeah. You could totally think that. And the character played by the
Maybe
dad.
I just already knew,
If
and
we-
that's the problem.
If we haven't brought this up yet, by the way, the dad is
Red.
Red from that 70s show.
Yeah,
That's true.
Great.
Yeah, Kurtwood Smith does a great job.
He-
He plays that 70s show after this, by the way, obviously.
I felt like the dad was pissed the whole time.
In hindsight, yes.
I think,
But I maybe I just know.
you need
the
to remember
story.
the first. Yeah, you
I
need to
don't.
remember
I
the
don't
first
remember
time,
the
because
first.
He
I
when
remember.
he walks in there, I'm like, oh, he's had a change of heart.
Right, because you've seen
Like,
the
he's
movies.
supporting him?
You've
Yeah.
seen the movies in that exact setting where they win the parent over because they're like, "Oh, I had no idea you were this
Yeah,
good."
that would
and-
be the movie I would expect Brett to
Dude,
watch.
I'm beginning to understand why the suicide caught me so off guard. Because the dad shows up and I'm like,
Oh, Gilmore Girls. They're gonna be all good.
everyone
dude,
happy endings.
You know what? If you knew more, you would give a lot to have a cup of coffee at Luke's. That's all I'm saying.
If
I
you
know
were-
exactly what a cup of coffee at Luke's is, and I'm
So
still
you
not
hate
impressed
Gilmore
with the Gilmore
Girls?
Girls. Yeah, dude.
So have you watched it?
I've watched a lot of episodes of Gilmore.
Have you
Girls.
watched Parenthood?
This
got-
Is Us. I've seen. I don't know about.
Do you like
Parenthood.
This Is Us?
Yeah,
This Is Us is
It's
really
good. I didn't watch the whole. I didn't watch like the whole
Series?
series, but
Well, I guess if you lead, I will not follow.
fair enough.
I don't know what we're talking about.
That's on the Gilmore Girls.
Oh, he knows the theme song.
Yeah.
Wow.
Hey,
Biggest
was
fan
it
over
Gilmore
here.
Girl
Yeah.
over here?
So Neil is finishing the musical, crushes it. I thought that Keating's comment of him leaving and being like, "Yo, you're." Does he say he's a natural, or he says something along the lines of to Neil of this is your thing?
Brett,
Yeah,
how
you've
can you?
gotta keep doing
I'm
this.
sorry to interrupt.
Go ahead.
How can you think that Robin Williams is at fault at all in
Yeah,
his
agreed.
leadership?
He-
Look at
he
this
went
scene.
after these
look
kids.
Look at the scene. So in the first scene, Charlie does he's trying to get kicked out of school. He has a phone ring in the middle of assembly, which, by the way, is why. So that's why he got spanked.
Yes.
And he says it's God. It says we should have girls at school. Clearly trying to make a statement, but also trying to get kicked out of school. He doesn't want to be there. Doesn't want to fall in his parents' footsteps. Whatever.
Yeah.
Robin Williams, it basically, that's the first time.
Admonishes him.
Yeah, he goes and he's like, dude, like, I appreciate the free thinking, but if you get kicked out of school, it completely goes against everything I'm trying to teach you. How can I teach you if you get kicked out of school?
The way you
Well, and
just
he said wisdom too, and he went
There's a
after the
time.
kid.
There's a
And-
time for this.
And this
And there's a
kid
way to do this.
understood that that's what
Correct.
He got
And
the message
in that moment. He's like, okay, I'm here to stay.
in a way that like no one else would have been able to get through to him.
100%
but
in
Robin
front
Williams.
of all the other boys. He's a great leader in this.
So the one boy not in the room was Neil, by the way.
Why was he not in the room?
He was at the musical practicing. He gets back to school,
Okay.
and his dad's there. I'm not disagreeing with anything you guys are saying. I'm just saying that you assume a position of being a little extra responsible. That's all. However, I will say this about Neil. I took this note right after. Remember the scene where Neil takes everybody's things and's running around the room.
Yeah.
Right after that scene, I wrote down, when will Neil get hit with reality? Will he shy away from his new take on life or jump in even more? He's living free, not taking account of any consequences.
Mm-hmm.
Dude, he was totally like, this
Well,
is
because
life
Neil's
now.
been living in this box.
This is his first time being
Yeah.
himself.
He said, this is the quote. This is the last quote I wrote down in the whole thing. He goes, I'm trapped. And you know what Robin Williams says? He goes, I'm trapped. In tears, he says, I'm trapped. What did
Yeah.
Robin Williams say?
I don't remember.
No, you are not.
Mm.
He's not at fault for any of this.
I agree.
He is leading and trying to show he's trying to get these kids to think for themselves, because Neil is a product of the school and his father. Robin is the closest thing to him being able to like process this the way an adult should and not think my only option here is suicide. Because you have to, from what I understand about it, you can't be of sound mind to take your own life.
Right.
You can't. It's you're incapable. So you have to have a little bit of, insanity in that moment. He has not thought for himself outside the time where he decided to act, and that was taken away from him, and he thinks he's trapped, he's in a box, and there's no way out except for out of this life.
Yeah. Well, he's looking ahead at the next 10 years, and he's like, I don't want to be a doctor. This is going to be hell.
So then skip town and say bye to dad.
I mean, I'm not saying that that's wrong. I'm just saying that, like,
I mean, the grip that some of these parents have on their kids is astounding.
I wrote down, like...
but that's my point is like, to what you were saying before is that isn't good parenting.
True. By the way, I wasn't arguing that he was a good parent. That's not what my
You were
statement
just
was.
saying that
I was saying
the
what they
authority
have
should
shown,
be respected.
Correct.
And he has the authority.
Everything he had done up until that point was something that our parents would have done. Maybe packaged it differently. Maybe have given us a hug. We wouldn't have been at boarding school. We would have had dinner afterwards. Nothing he said or did I think was wrong up until that point.
Well, the only reason I would say that I disagree with it not being wrong is that like it's not like his grades had suffered.
Yeah, well, we don't have to get into that.
Yeah, it doesn't matter.
And I would say I will definitely hold my kids accountable to finishing things they commit to, but I'm not committing them for them.
This is the opposite. That kid committed.
He
and
committed,
said
and he told him not
no.
Making decisions for them, like all of that, taking away or adding.
Right.
When Neil is at home and his dad's really ripping him, and he's sitting there and he tells him to explain why do you care about this acting thing so much?
Yeah.
And Neil kind of wimps out and just ends up being like nothing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We can discipline, but I don't think Neil ever felt heard from his dad or felt the ability to even talk to him, and that's what led.
He started talking, and his dad said,
shut him down.
Yeah, definitely shut him down
before he had a chance, and he's like, nothing.
He's like, no, we've sacrificed too much. You're
That's
doing
pretty hard.
this. You're going to medical
I don't know
school.
if you've ever been in the situation where you either came on too hard or you didn't do anything wrong, but your kid doesn't feel safe enough to tell you what's going on.
Dude,
that really hurts as a parent.
And if you're not, but dude, if we're not willing to sit there and wait it out, we have to be willing to sit there and wait it out, no matter how painful it is or whatever, because eventually it does. In my experience, it does come out. And it's hard not to try to answer it for them to speed it up. Like, it takes patience, it takes willpower, it takes not worrying about the other 29 things you have going on.
It's very rewarding if you can wait it out.
Oh, dude, I don't want to say it's the best. I don't want to speak in hyperbole, but it's pretty great.
It is great
because you can't word it the way they do. When they explain it, it's like, okay, that makes sense.
Yep.
Yeah, pretty great.
I wrote down the part where he is spanked. Does Marcus get PTSD?
You wrote that down?
I wrote that down on my notes.
PTSD, no, but man, that did hurt. Now the other thing that really hit home for me, and Brett, I think you hit on this, was that, so Neil kills himself. Parents, school, everybody's looking for somebody to blame. Mm-hmm. There has to be a scapegoat.
Yep.
And then people just start basically going to save themselves. Like,
it starts with
that.
Cameron.
You want to talk PTSD? That gave me PTSD.
Sure.
So I've got and do we want to get into this at any length at all? Like,
I don't care.
Because of how long this episode is and because of the content, I think it'd be best if you just gave like the bullet points of why you have
we
PTSD.
had a freshman that died in the fraternity.
Yeah.
When I was a junior. And like even to the point where like those boys came in and they were like crying and they said Neil's dead. It was like, for me, I remember very specifically when I got woken up and they said Johnny's dead. And it was awful, like the worst thing that I've ever experienced. And then going forward, we couldn't even take the time to truly mourn.
Because you were under fire.
You're in defense mode.
Because we were just completely on the defensive. We weren't allowed to go to the funeral.
Wow, I did not know that.
Yeah, we weren't allowed to go to the funeral.
Based on the parents?
Yep. Parents were looking for somebody to blame. The media, everybody else is coming at you. And so you're just, you're going to be the scapegoat. And Brett, I remember specifically, I was at your house, like when our fraternity gets shut down.
Yep.
And because we were gone for the weekend. Yep. And I just remember like the call that I got, and I just answered and I said hello, and he just said, we're effed. Like we were the scapegoat. And even more than that, like before that specifically happened, something that almost nobody knows, but I think is fair to share, is that there were a couple of kids that were freshmen that like went to the deans and said, hey, this is going on, this is going on, this is going on. And oh, by the way, if you want somebody to just like tell you the truth, just talk to Marcus. And this was the worst position ever to be put in, is these kids then come to me and they say, hey, I told them that you're a good Christian guy, everything else, like you'll tell them like what's like really going on. And I was like, well, what did you say?
Mm-hmm.
And there were things that happen within a fraternity at large, especially at the time, that would probably be like frowned upon, but I wouldn't consider necessarily like wrong.
Mm-hmm.
And
like hazing, like some of the hazing that you
yes, but like nothing that's putting anybody in life-threatening situations or they're going to get injured or any of that. But yeah, there was some hazing and some different things that happened, and this kid had gone and shared that and said to the deans,
dropped your name
to go talk to Marcus.
But you were the president, weren't you?
No, I was the risk manager. And so I knew that I was going to get a call. And so I emailed them ahead of time and they were like, good idea. Why don't you come in at 8 a.m. tomorrow?
Oh, wow.
And so I'm in there just trying to like keep everything together. And oh, by the way, nobody in my fraternity can know because they're going to be absolutely frustrated.
So something that I think frustrated me from afar was like, it felt as though that if I'm you guys, I'm thinking, oh man, these people are going to be so upset at the school and us.
Yeah.
And then you realize, oh no, it's 2-on-1.
Yeah, the school.
It's actually the school against us as well. Number one.
Well,
number two, it also like the school acting as if some of these things they weren't aware of. Like,
correct. Yeah,
like,
that they were absolutely aware of.
It's just so it's part of the tradition
aware,
of that college.
They're aware of it until it's convenient to them.
Yeah, they were 100% aware of the things, and that was agreed. That was the most frustrating thing, is that we were the scapegoat.
Yeah,
like we.
Yeah,
me, even more specifically, and so watching Keating become the scapegoat and watching these kids. Basically, and their parents basically make them sign away so that Keating can be the scapegoat. It was really tough.
Yeah.
That's and I don't know, maybe I've seen this 2 or 3 times since that happened, maybe.
Yeah.
But even watching it today, when I watched it, I was like, man, that just sucks.
Yeah, that's tough.
Because that's like the worst thing that's ever
Thanks
happened.
for sharing that. Yeah, that's one of the darkest memories you have, and you were named, so you dealt with we're not going to get into everything that happened since
for a
then,
long time.
But I definitely, in the moments where we're watching that unfold at the end of this movie, I was like, man, that's tough. And that was for one guy who throughout the movie you can see they're like,
all he does is care about these kids.
That's it.
Yeah.
And then he becomes the scapegoat.
Yeah.
Unbelievable. Just terrible. But at the end, the last note I had on that made me think is just everyone standing on their desks.
Yeah.
It being led by Todd's character and him saying, "Oh, Captain, my Captain." The kid that can't get up and talk in front of the class, standing up and saying that.
I've got to think for Keating.
It's just beautiful.
He's like, cool, it was worth it. I'm not mad. Like, I did what I
came
to.
Yeah,
absolutely.
Yeah.
Let's move into quotes. We've been
Look at Charlie.
throwing
Look at
some out
Charlie.
there. Oh, dude, when she shows up, I'm like, she's done. She's marrying this boy someday.
She's like, I came to tell you to stop it. I came to tell you that I choose my boyfriend.
Then, by the way, what does he do? He takes her to the play.
Yeah.
Right? He takes her to the play.
Yeah.
Plays, musicals, they get the girls.
Was not on my strategy list growing up. I loved when he came back. Remember when he went to her school, went to her class to give her flowers and read a poem to her?
That was awesome.
He comes back like, what'd she say? He's like, nothing.
I don't know.
But I did it.
But I did it.
And it was like, dude.
So good.
Carpe diem.
Super proud.
Carpe diem. All the good ones go for the jerks. You know that. That was a quote that I had.
Wait, are we going to quotes?
Oh,
yeah, he's in
Unless
quotes.
you got...
I got hidden gems. What's the order?
Hidden gems
are last, man. Come on.
Who's the host of this show?
How many episodes have you done?
What podcast is this?
Jeez.
All right.
Loved this from Keating. When you read, don't just consider what the author thinks. Consider what you think.
Oh, Captain, my Captain was a good one. And that you may contribute a verse. What will your verse be? That was in the first scene in the movie.
I'm talking myself out of my Keating take slowly but surely with you guys because one of my quotes is Neil asking Keating, is there an easier way? And what does Keating say? No,
Nope.
there's not. There's not an easier way.
Keating also says, we don't read and write poetry because we think it's cute. We read and write poetry because we are members of the human race. Right? Like, it brings out the emotion. It brings out the love. It brings, like, this is why Brett does slam poetry.
This is it.
This
I
is
thought,
the
you know
reason.
what?
Because he's human.
I thought it was almost like everybody else was like had the viewpoint of what a manly man was. Dude, I felt like he made these kids that were into the acting and got into poetry or whatever, like they felt like real men.
They are men.
Yeah,
That's the
because
thing.
they're reading poetry. A bunch of dudes in a cave.
Yeah.
In this day and age, who would do that?
I freaking love it.
I loved it, man.
I love it. We didn't just read poetry. We let it drip from our tongues like honey.
He's into it.
Have you seen that? Oh man, Gary Busey is just off his rocker these days.
These days?
Yeah. It's worse. He goes. That's
His
not,
peak was
his question.
His
the question
peak was
is,
the rookie.
He goes. The question is, that's not your jam, Gary. He's on a podcast. He's on a podcast still. He looks like he's dead, and he's on his podcast. And this kid goes, "That's not your jam, Gary." And Gary goes, "I don't buy jam. I buy honey, and I kiss it on the lips." Like, what are you talking about? What world are you in? What dimension? All right, so the movie's line, carpe diem, which we've brought up many times, seize the day, boys, make your lives extraordinary, was voted as the number 95 movie quote by American Film Institute. The phrase comes from Horatius Flaccus, 65 BC. You guys
Clearly not classically educated.
You guys, well, neither are you. Your kids are, so calm down. I just wrote down this kind of cheating. Like this is a quote from the
it is
ancient,
kind of cheating.
and they were just doing it in the movie. So now we're like,
of a CEO we all know that would quote himself on a PowerPoint presentation.
It's like Michael Scott. It's like
Donkey.
you miss 100% of the shots you don't take. Wayne Gretzky.
I've been
Michael
married.
Scott.
What does he say? He's been married for 40 years. Best 40 years of her life.
I love you, Albert.
Yep. I hope Albert listens to this. That would make me happy.
I did. So I went through. I didn't realize you could just add 1,000 people. So I did that today.
Nice.
So
Nice. We got to do
so
1,000 more.
fast.
What's the point? The point, Charlie, is that she was thinking about me. That's the part you're talking about before.
Oh yeah, so good.
Where he's like it doesn't matter. She was thinking about
which,
me.
by the way, is not even true. He
it is.
called, asked for her. She's like, "Oh, I'm so glad you called. You should come." Like that was
No, she
Nah,
just,
no.
She
She said something like-
she just said something.
She has something. I was gonna call you.
You think that's true?
It doesn't matter.
It doesn't matter.
It's
You're
what she
freaking
said to
16.
him.
Of course he
It's
thinks
what she
she's thinking
said
about
to
him.
him.
Come on, Brett.
It's not.
Don't you guys miss having girls around here? I wrote, I feel that.
The part where the whole scene where Ethan Hawke's character gets sent that desk for Christmas again, the desk kit.
Oh, this is very aerodynamic.
The best line of that whole thing is he throws it over and Neil goes, "I wouldn't worry, you'll get another one next year."
So good. That was a great
How
scene.
about, so, all right, Tammy, earmuffs for a second. Damn it, Neil. The name is Nawanda.
Yes.
The name is no.
Oh man! Right after he gets
Spanked.
spanked and everything, and they're like, "Well, what are you gonna do?"
That's a
I
underrated.
freaking loved that.
That's an underrated movie line of all time.
Oh, so good.
You know, I was thinking about your slam poetry, by the way. Like we're 4 or 5 episodes into this thing. That just came because in the first episode, you were stumbling over what to say for your 30 seconds.
Did I do it for Remember
because
Titans?
because that's how he thinks about.
I know.
Doing
It
a
is so,
synopsis.
It's so perfect. That's what I love about you too, because like I feel like I'm stuck into I have OCD.
Yeah.
Which is good and bad, but in this world where I'm like, this is how you're supposed to do it. I try to do it the way you're supposed to do it. I love that it didn't even occur to you that that's the way you're supposed to do it. It's just like, boy, man, like just straight out from the beginning. Here we are.
Captain, my captain. That's got to be a quote we mention. I mean,
Captain, my captain.
oh, captain, my captain.
I love too when they were following him. to ask him about Dead Poets Society, he wouldn't listen. He wouldn't answer to Mr. Keating, and then finally, someone's like, "Oh, Captain, my Captain." He turns around.
Yeah, that's good.
Oh yeah.
Something we didn't get into. All the sports he had them play.
Yeah.
Was kind of cool.
Loved it.
Yeah.
So was he doing that because he wanted them? He wanted them to sweat while they learn, or was he also tasked with PE?
I don't know, but men need to be active.
Men. I think it's all about being a man.
So, but they all had uniforms. That was a confusing part. Like, did they have their PE uniforms on because he was also in PE, or did he just say?
I think that just is their athletic wear. You know,
I can see him being show up in
they have
athletic wear
specific
tomorrow,
things
not
they're
tell them
allowed
why.
to wear, things they're allowed not allowed to wear.
I
I wrote during that part, and this is a hidden gem. I don't know if we want to move to those yet or not.
We can.
But I just said during that part, I just wrote, "I'm a sucker for a red sweater with a W on it." I mean,
You could have just stopped.
What
at,
color
I'm
is
a
the W
sucker.
if the sweater is red? Is it red
White.
with a black? Oh,
White.
white. What? See, I envision
White on red.
white on red. I envision
That is
a
white
red
on
W on a white shirt.
All right, I have more
it
hidden
was
gems.
red. It was a red sweater and it had a W on it.
I have more hidden gems than I do quotes. The
Yep.
part where they're all ripping out the first chapter, and Charlie, the headmaster, walks in. Charlie puts the paper in his mouth.
And then he spits it into
He's
the
so
trash
quick,
can later.
man. He's so
he
quick.
spits it in the trash can when Keating comes around.
Yeah.
Charlie's the best.
Charlie's hilarious.
I mean,
the name's Nwanda.
Yeah, exactly.
I loved
Nwanda.
it when it wasn't the headmaster. It was another teacher who actually taught Keating. I think it was another English teacher.
Yeah.
And he walks into his classroom when Keating's having to rip it all out. And he's like, "I didn't know you were here." And he goes, "I am." And then just kept moving right along. That opening situation when you get to know who he is as a teacher in like 2 or 3 scenes.
Yeah.
So good.
Well, the other thing that he does that I think is hilarious is that same teacher gives him a quote, from some famous, from some famous person about like preparing kids or something.
Oh, where
or
they're
other.
certainly eating?
And,
Yeah.
and then Keating throws another quote at him, and he's like, "Who is that? So and so?" And he's like, "No, Keating."
What's funny is that's
so good.
before I knew what his name was in the movie, and I was like, "Who's Keating?" And they do a good job because the very next scene they show his picture and show Keating.
Oh.
All right, so here's a fun fact for you, not so much a hidden gem, but the director Weir requested that the young cast not use modern slang, even off camera.
Oh,
So
Love it.
he basically enforced method acting because they're so young to really get them to embody the 50s.
Yeah, there's something else about that too. Have you guys ever done any like Shakespeare? Well, I know Brett has. I know Brett did Romeo and Juliet.
I sure did. Yeah.
Is that video still on the internet?
It is. If you search for Romeo and Juliet lightsabers, it will show up Dan's YouTube account.
Yeah, quite great. I
I
mean,
think
one
we
of
might be
my
catching,
favorites.
I think we might be
I
catching
think
up
we
to
need-
the Charlie Bit Me reenactment
not.
that Rem did.
I
actually.
think we
No.
need. I do think we need
No.
Riley to post that YouTube video though.
Oh, heck yeah,
Of
dude.
you with Shakespeare. That is so good. But I feel like Shakespeare's kind of that way. Like you have to be in the mode of Shakespeare. You have to be speaking almost in iambic pentameter all the time, just so that it's natural.
Mm-hmm.
And I love that they had the kids do that.
Yeah.
Because not speaking in the slang of the time would have been super helpful.
Another hidden gem, old school radiators. Did you guys ever like put your back up and burn
Oh,
yourself
yeah.
on those radiators?
Yes.
No, but I've had to turn one on before, and it's definitely a.
We had those kind of radiators at
We had
our
them in
Is it
Church
water?
when I
Do
was
waters
growing
run?
up.
Is that what hot water? Yeah. Yep.
Every morning, my mom's class, we'd get there an hour before school and stay
Oh,
2 or
geez.
3 hours after school. And it's cold in Indiana in the winter.
Oh man, the what's the ginger's name? Cameron.
Cameron Fink. What a
Yeah,
Fink.
yeah, the Fink. Dude, when he stops and is gawking unapologetically at the girl, Chris or whatever.
When they're in the hallway?
Yes, that is 100% true. Like that's exactly how it happens.
When
Like,
when
if-
you haven't seen a girl in forever?
Yes. If there's like no girl around ever and you've got the hormones raging and that girl comes in, it's like, oh my goodness, she's beautiful.
The last one I had down is Brett.
We used to call it Wally goggles.
Wally goggles?
Yeah, because Wally Wabash, Wally's.
We're at
kind of like beer goggles, but
By the way, the Romeo and Juliet lightsabers is 557 views. We need to get that up.
There's only 557.
Yeah, man.
Do you know how many Charlie Bit Me
It has been on YouTube for
Charlie Bit
17.
Me's probably got like 3 million.
6.5 million views.
So this is a reenactment of Rem and his.
I mean, they're good. You guys.
Oh,
that's
it's so
really
great,
funny.
and everybody else did it after you guys. You guys
Yeah,
probably.
I mean, Marty was in that too.
It was back
and
when
we
YouTube-
mentioned Marty earlier.
It was the first year YouTube was a thing.
So this was posted 17 years ago.
Yeah.
This video, at least.
Yeah.
Dude, that's a good video. Make sure Ellie posts that
great
because
stuff.
that's fun.
So the you and I
Mm-hmm.
gave a message standing on tables.
Yes.
Yeah.
This is one of my favorite memories.
If I remember right, it's literally because we just wanted to do something
Yeah.
different.
So Nadine called me the day before the division meeting
Okay.
and was like, "I'm sick."
Okay.
And I think Jim might have called me. I don't know what ended up happening, but it was like, "Can you run this division meeting?"
Okay.
And I was like, "Done." And then
we
I
got this.
And it was like, we're just gonna do whatever we want, and
Yeah.
that's exactly what happened.
I remember saying okay
it was
my captain
it was
when I stood
holiday.
up.
Oh,
it
no
was
way.
for holiday selling.
Yes.
And I remember our thought process being, well, why don't you guys just stand on tables?
We did. We were. It was like, hey,
I might have literally just watched this movie. I don't know.
the
Yeah.
cat's
But I remember
out,
us having the conversation.
the mice will play. Yeah,
Yeah.
that's exactly what happened. Yeah,
And that picture shows up on Facebook for me every year, and
Dude,
every year I laugh about
that's so
it.
much fun.
That's the least of it when the cat was away. Let me tell you something. We would get on the roof of the office, and because Cutco one
This
of
is on 86 in Michigan, 96 in Michigan.
yeah, right behind that McDonald's.
Yep.
We would get up because team nights. So the office was full of swords because Cutco
Yeah.
would give away swords, like
Yeah.
actual swords as trophies, like massive swords. And so when the cat's away, we play with swords.
Oh
And
yeah, absolutely.
so we would throw watermelons off the roof and try to slash them with swords for team night. I mean, just ridiculous.
I do
things.
remember doing some watermelon slices
Yeah.
on team nights.
That back parking lot saw some good teammates.
It's definitely had rats. I'll tell you that much because we did not clean up.
Yeah, but the idea of like letting us run the entire division meeting,
Yeah.
that's pretty fun.
Well, I remember
We were young.
there would be food cutting tables that would be there until the next week. It was like, oh, training's tomorrow.
We gotta clean that up.
What's funny is when I ran my own office, I was so hungry that I would specifically tell them what to bring.
What you wanted to eat.
And then you
cut,
just eat that
and
stuff.
that's what I would eat for
Yeah.
lunch.
Yeah.
So great.
We had so many summer sausages and cheese. I
Oh,
would
for your
just-
3 weeks as a branch, yeah,
Bro.
man, it must have been
3
awesome.
weeks.
Great May. This is your lunch in May.
We can make fun of it all we want. I opened and closed an office as a college kid and didn't lose
but
money.
Mrs. Miller still called him and gave him the deal that I offered her.
That's right. Of the three of us, I've sold more knives to people.
That's true. That two people, two real people. Rating time, boys. Rating time. I am an 8.
25 episodes in, and it doesn't make sense that we're not doing decimal points.
I'm doing decimal points.
I know I was really hardcore against it, but
I'm a long-term thinker.
You might have a point.
I would do. I'm gonna do my first decimal point.
He's doing it. Hey, it's our podcast.
For
We
some
can change
reason,
the
I
rules.
can't figure out.
Well, here's the deal. For a tough critic like me who actually hands out 6s, I don't need decimal points.
I was
But
convinced.
You,
Brett,
if everything's gonna be,
you know what? I'm just proud that Brett didn't give this a 5. I thought for sure.
Oh, really?
What?
Would you give it an 8?
8. Yeah.
If the kid didn't,
Brett liked this movie.
if it didn't take a turn at the end and it was a happy
Oh,
ending.
that made it better.
That's what I was gonna say.
Yeah,
Well,
yeah.
so then you're growing. We are gonna take you to con, young
Oh, yeah.
Padawan.
Con, here we come.
Speaking of young Padawan, are we ever gonna do like a trilogy, like Star Wars?
You know, I was
or
thinking about that, like doing a trilogy,
a
of
3-part series, maybe.
The Matrix,
Oh,
The
The
Matrix,
Matrix.
or Lord of the
The
Rings.
Matrix would be great for this show.
The
Great
Hobbit,
for this show.
the Lord
Star
of the
Wars.
Rings.
If you guys think I
or
had
the
crazy
Matrix.
takes
Indiana
for-
Jones.
If you guys think I had crazy takes for dang it,
Oh,
Russell Crowe.
Everything?
Gladiator.
Gladiator.
Dude, you don't even want to hear about it.
We really should do Gladiator 2 live. Not
Okay,
live, but we should.
what are you guys gonna do if it's true?
Brett.
It's not true. You
I
want
like-
it-
I
you
went back
name
and I
it.
listened.
Name it, I'll do it. Name
No,
it.
like I went back and I listened to the last episode. I stand by what I said. It is just as likely that Willy Wonka is the father. I stand by what I said. It makes no sense. Your take
If
makes no
Brett
sense.
wants to name something for me to do, if Lucius is Commodus's son, Brett, you just name it. I'm in.
I just want to be there.
Just name it.
I just want to be there. No,
Just
I
name
just
it.
want to
Wait,
be
the
there.
look
I'm
on
in.
our face.
I want to. Yes, you're gonna stay.
By
in
the way,
you're gonna stay in the
modern
theater.
cinema is so jacked up with holes that it would be like the director say, "Hey, let's throw this wrench in the story."
I actually kind of hope it happens.
Hedging our bets. Hedging our bets. We're hedging our bets now.
All right, I give it either a 7.7 or an 8.1. I don't know why those are the numbers.
Whoa. Okay.
I think I give it a 7.7. Yeah,
I'm higher on this one.
it's good.
8.8.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Out of 9.
Oh, yeah.
I would have given it a 9 before I gave it a 7. I'll say that much.
Yeah, I think it's
This is a favorite of mine for sure.
yeah.
And that's probably why
It's
Jessica
one of those
said that we should
movies
do this.
that like again, I vote with my heart. I love being a film critic. I just wouldn't watch this again next year.
Oh, yeah. I mean, I would, but that's me.
It's a great movie.
It's a great movie, and Robin Williams is fantastic in this movie.
Brett, what are we covering next week?
Dude, we got Hoosiers.
Oh,
To
Hoosier
what do we say
hysteria.
to kick off to commemorate the beginning of
By the way, if they start doing the state championships at this new Fisher's Event Center,
Yeah.
it would be electric.
you're right.
Because I've been to the state
That would be fun.
championships at Bankers Life or Gainbridge.
Yeah. It's
too
and
big.
It's too big.
too big.
It's
Yeah.
too big, but they didn't have that middle of the road. This Fisher's Event
Hinkle's
Center.
or Fisher's Event Center would be good.
Hinkle's
Fisher's
is
Event Center is
interesting.
going to be.
Hinkle.
I think they're
Hinkle
slightly
is
bigger.
where
How
Hinkle
many?
is where they did Hinkle is where they had the 1950
Correct.
whatever one for the Hoosiers.
How
for
big
Milan.
is it? How many is it seat?
Hinkle?
Yeah.
I don't know. Probably 20.
How many is Fisher's going to
No,
see?
it does not. See,
Oh, no.
Gainbridge is 18.
Probably 13.
Yeah, so Fisher's is going to be right around 8.
Dude, that's perfect.
Dude,
I think so,
the
too.
Fisher's Event Center. I kind of want to get Fisher's Freight tickets.
Yeah.
The football league.
Yeah. I want to get the volleyball tickets.
So and
Yeah.
this is
volleyball
going to
game.
be along. Is this the one that's going in along Hoosier Road?
No, it's
No.
going. No.
Is that Hoosier?
No, Hoosier
No.
Road. There's something.
it's-
Fall? What is
No,
it?
it's
it's-
just south of 116th
it's USA
Street.
Parkway. It's by IKEA.
Yeah.
Oh, got it. Okay, by the hotels.
Yes.
Over
Yeah, it's
there.
right
So
there.
there's
You
something
know what else is going over there is Chicken Pickle. Do you
I
guys know
don't-
what Chicken Pickle is?
Sounds delicious.
It's a massive bar that's known for like chicken wings and it's a pickleball court bar.
Oh yeah, I heard about
There
this.
is something else going in along. Actually, where does Shelley teach? It's across the street from. It's across from one of the elementary schools. Along.
There's a bunch of pickleball places going in.
Is that maybe what it is?
Yes.
Is that? Okay.
That's not the same thing. This
Got
is a
I know. I know what you're talking about.
Pro
That's-
hockey.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And they've got some big names coming for concerts.
For concerts.
So Parks Place is a premier sponsor. We've got a Parks Place patio inside of it.
Oh.
Oh, nice. Yeah,
Sweet.
I've been talking a little bit to Larry at the Fuel, so
Yeah.
We can definitely.
Let's
I wonder
go.
if we could do some
Fuel
events
games are
there.
a blast.
Fuel games
When they had
are-
them at Pepsi, I don't know where they do them
Fuel
now.
games are going to be right there.
Oh, nice.
It's minutes from my house.
Yeah.
That's
cool.
awesome.
So we got Hoosiers to kick off IHSA basketball postseason. We got
Hoosiers is maybe is it the most iconic Indiana movie?
Let me get back to you on that.
It might be.
I believe. What's the Gilbert Grape movie?
What's eating Gilbert Grape?
That was filmed.
League of Their Own was filmed here too.
It's literally
that was filmed in Terre Haute, I believe.
Terre
League of
Haute.
Their Own was
Terre
Evansville.
Haute smells like
Evansville.
pickled pig.
We got The Big Short.
Oh,
I love that
forgot
movie.
about that. I love that movie too.
We got our last book of the year, A Christmas Carol by Dickens, which Rem still might watch multiple options.
I'm gonna
Rim's-
watch all the movies.
Rim's one of those guys that in college he was like, yeah, I'm gonna watch the movies.
I was the guy in high
Yeah.
school that was like, instead of writing the paper, we will make the movie. And that's what all those
Nice.
movies that we made were in replacement of papers. 4 Christmases to kick off our Christmas movies. Die Hard,
Oh,
Christmas
Die Hard
movie
sandwich.
for sure.
Christmas movie.
Right, Brian?
and then
Mhm.
finishing up with maybe my favorite movie of all time, It's a Wonderful Life.
Nice.
It's gonna be a great end to the year,
Brett's gonna give it an 8.
dude. I tell you right now, that's a 9. It's a 9, and I've never watched it without crying.
Nice
yeah,
hat.
me neither.
I like your hat.
These hats rock.
Check out Instagram. Check out Patreon. to see our
Patreon. There
hats.
aren't any hats, but
Yeah, are we
You should see
gonna? So Brett and I, we're filming on the 15th.
yes.
Are we gonna put that on Patreon, or are we gonna just launch it as a special episode?
Anxious Generation. See the academic side of us.
We'll let you guys know when we
What
do
exists
that,
of
and
it.
we'll start filming some. We'll start recording and filming some extra stuff for Patreon
That'd be great.
in the next week or so.